There exists a threat, from anti-hunting groups to politicians trying to give our land away, and we won't stand for it. Those vast western landscapes provide the space for our wildlife to thrive and a place for hunters and anglers to fuel the fire that sparks their soul. In this show, we share our love of hunting, fishing, and conservation. Here, we provide the foundation to meet these threats through passion and the grit of the American outdoorsman. Welcome to the Western Huntsman podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Western Huntsman podcast. This is Jim Huntsman, your host, coming at you from the Broken Time studio right here in Clark Fork, Idaho. I got that part down, guys. This week, I've got a couple of really good guys that I always like and really enjoy having on the show. We're going to cover kind of a myriad of topics tonight. And if you hear any frustration in my voice, it's because we had some major difficulties on my end with Zoom, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with this thing. So without further ado, let's bring my these fellas on. Chris Rowe of Roe Hunting Resources. How's it going, brother?
It's good. Once again, I've got to carry you. I've got to save you here. And, yeah.
Chris, we did this last time. I am pretty sure you had to send me the files last time because it wasn't working on my side. So, in the other corner over here, we got Guy Duplantier from Western Contours. How's it going, buddy?
What's up, Jimbo? Good to be back, man. You killed our first intro, which was way better.
I know.
Shenanigans were starting already. So
it was like the kind of wind got taken out of the cell when I started cutting out like that. It's just frustrating, man. I hate internet stuff. I don't know how to work it.
It's no different than some of us that are old enough to remember when, computers first started to become like an actual tool, and we'd have to write college papers, and we'd be in Microsoft Word, and we'd get like 2/3 of a way through a report or an essay or something like that, and forget to hit save, and all of a sudden it would just crash, and you'd have to start over again, and you're like, oh shit. Like all of my inspiration now is gone. The flow, everything's gone. And now not only do I have to try to make the thing again, I've got my brain is split. I'm frustrated because I don't have the flow that I had before. So that's peeling off a part of my brain. And then the other part of my brain is trying to recreate the flow that I had while I'm still trying to actually complete it's just like, no.
Oh, flow is gone. Flow is gone, bro.
The flow just leaves, man. It's like the same thing now. I'm like kind of half pissed off that it cut off like that. And so now I've got to get unpissed off and start recording the show. And, that's just, I guess that's just part of it, man. I got to figure something out.
That's the beautiful part about it. You're not recording it. I am.
That's true. You're recording.
So you just need to talk.
I just talk.
All you got to do is stop using the fucking phone all the time and start using Zoom, and you'll work all the kinks out. But you always quit on it so fast.
I don't quit on it. Dude, I tried it for like 6 months, and all it did was give me an ass ache the entire 6 months. And here I am giving it a second shot.
See, this is the thing, is you're up there in the middle of nowhere. Am I looking at you in your camper still?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. The Broken Time studio.
How's the house coming?
Well, looks like we're still about 4 months or so before they start. All we're waiting for now is snow to clear. And then we're gonna have this place set up and get the home here. So
where's your family when you're doing this? Are they under the bunk bed back there? Just like
no, not the bunk bed. There's not a lot of room in the bunk bed, so I actually lock them in the bathroom behind me. And no, this is a totally separate trailer.
All right, well, good.
This is my little 20-foot hunting trailer, and it did go out this season. By the way, I had to take all my recording shit out, hook it up to the tractor because the way I have it like jigsawed between these trees on the property, I can't just hook a truck up and move it. I have to use the tractor to really maneuver it in. And even then, sometimes I still smack into a tree and, whatever. So we've got a fifth wheel that we actually live in. And then we have a wall tent with like a living room set up in it. And then I built this, like outdoor kitchen space that's fully enclosed and fully heated. So that's like another room that is there. So, we're like expanding. I look like a old Western town here with, multiple trailers and the old outbuildings, I've built all over the place. So It's kind of cool.
Nice.
But
nice.
It sounds like we're in good shape, Chris. I should have a house by like, no later than July of next year. As long as everything works out. So,
well, the thing that you were talking about earlier is how much snow are you guys getting?
Oh, tons. Yeah. I remember, so last year, I was blown away because we had like, 5 feet or so at one point, and this was like 2 weeks into January. But we didn't start getting snow until almost Christmas Eve last year, with the exception of a couple little skiffs here and there. Well, we have had over a foot on the ground for about a month, and we're up to over 3 feet now, and I'm totally out of places to push this snow. And my driveway is an absolute nightmare. And I need to buy one of those snow plow attachments for my tractor, because my whole idea of just pushing it and then back scraping the driveway and all that kind of stuff is great for light snow. But this heavy shit, man, it is not going to work. If it keeps snowing like this for another month, we're going to be like stuck up here. And so I've got to just bite the bullet and buy one of those, snowblower attachments, because I've got nowhere else to push it. Sucks.
Throw it in a dump trailer and bring it down here.
Yeah, bring it down.
Yeah. Send you some. You guys need the moisture. Is it still pretty dry there, Chris?
0.
Really?
Like yeah. So the weather, the winter storm warning we just got, we had a skiff of rain. We got about 1/10 of an inch.
Oh no.
Of moisture out of it, but that was, given how dry it is and how dusty it is, that was just enough to kind of get things to the dust to settle on the surface. Yeah. As soon as you drive over it, it just breaks it up again, and it's good. Yeah. So we got nothing. And there's no, the long-term forecasts are much of the same. I don't think we're going to see any turnaround until, at this point, they're not forecasting any sort of change through spring.
Yeah, that's too bad, man. If I could load up snow and load up turkeys, I would hook you up and drive them down, because we've got more turkeys than we know what to do with, and more snow than we know what to do with. And I know that's two things that you guys have been struggling with in Kansas.
Yeah, no, at least where we are. And that's one thing that I will absolutely tell you is just enjoy it while you have it, because you never know. No one, I mean, we're sitting at a 50-year drought now, knocking on the door of a 100-year drought. And, just watching the landowners out here and what's going on in the landscape, just, I mean, with our habitat is just shit. I mean, and I can't blame the landowners. I mean, they're just trying to survive. And so, wildlife habitat, who gives a shit? I got to figure out how to pay the banknote. I've got to figure out how to pay my taxes. I got to figure out how to put food on the table and keep my cattle alive, because I've had to sell off half the herd, but I can't sell off anymore. Otherwise, I just don't have any income. But I've got to figure out how to keep these guys alive. So we're going to just hay everything that we can hay, and we're going to put cattle in every creek bottom, river bottom, waste ground area all the places where they never wanted to put cattle before because it was a pain in the ass, where all the wildlife lived. Yeah, no, they've been down. I mean, hell, we've got places where it used to be awesome cover and awesome wildlife habitat, and the whole reason why we had deer and turkeys and everything, pheasant and quail. We've got cattle that have been in there now 12 months, 18 months. We're going on 2.5 years.
Wow.
Of this now, and it's just
so like if you back it up on like this overarching macro level kind of thing, is this something that Kansas experiences, or is there enough data, enough history there to know if this is like a normal cycle?
No, like I said, it's a 50-year, if not 100-year drought.
Like a 50. Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, we're in that La Nina cycle, and when we're in a La Nina cycle, it gets sporadic because we get our moisture a lot in the spring and then a lot in the summer and fall, and then we'll have a little bit of winter. But we are really dependent on that summer moisture, the monsoon flow. But in a La Nina type cycle, we don't get in this little pocket. Now you can talk about like if you look at the drought forecast, you'll see there's just massive, just burgundy red across from us all the way down into Oklahoma and some of the other, Texas and some of the areas. The rain and the moisture has hit Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and the mountains. And you guys are getting a phenomenal flow.
Yeah.
And then it just stops. By the time it hits eastern Colorado, it stops, goes right up and over top of us, doesn't drop an ounce. And then you get about 30 minutes east of here. And then it just boom, picks up. And here we go again. Now there's still people that are in drought that way. So one of the rifle hunters I just got done with, he's from Minnesota. And even he said, he's like, oh yeah, we're in a drought cycle. And I'm like, and I just kind of smile. I'm like, how much rain have you gotten so far this year? He's like, oh, I think, I don't know, maybe 28 inches or something like that. And I just kind of smile. I'm like, our normal years are 18 to 22 inches, maybe 24 inches of moisture. Yep. So your drought year, what you're sitting there, and he goes, he just kind of nods. He's like, yeah, our corn is still 10 feet tall. And I'm like, and you still got to harvest. You still got to harvest. Yeah, but the harvest was a little bit low. I'm like, yeah, I've got one of my landowners, he's got half of his acres that he didn't run a combine through because there's nothing in it.
Wow.
There's nothing to harvest. So don't spend the money on diesel. Just at least leave the stubble to hopefully catch, if we get lucky and get a snowstorm, maybe it'll catch some of that snow and doesn't blow off.
Guy, what about you? Is the snowpack you've got now, is that normal, or are you guys up, down?
Fuck if I know, bro. This is my first real winter.
How long?
As far as I'm concerned, it's up.
How long did it take you to realize that Birkenstocks suck in the snow?
I don't know. I'm still waiting on you to send me a loaner pair, you fucker.
They're in the mail.
They are not in the mail. He decided to keep it for himself because he got bedazzled ones for you, and he just couldn't let them go.
He liked them too much.
I've got my bedazzled Western Contours Birkenstocks, and I tell you, they are stylish, man. I look good on my tractor in them.
It was funnier than shit. Where was I? We were somewhere over the weekend. Like, I don't remember where we went. And it was me and the wife, and I look over and there's this dude standing there, and we had to drive to Junction, go Christmas shopping. And I look over, this dude has white plastic Birkenstocks, a tie-dye shirt, and these like skinny jean sweatpants on. And I looked over there and I just started cracking up, and I was like, I got to get this picture for Huntsman. But his old lady would never kind of turn away, so I couldn't sneak the picture in. My wife's elbowing me like, you motherfucker, you better not do it.
Oh, that would have been great, man. Well, before you guys have both mentioned a couple of things that I want to kind of cover on this show, but before we kick off too far, I want to first send a heartfelt thank you, guys, because there's a couple of dates that I want to mention. I got to pull up my phone because I can't remember one of the dates is November 16th and the other one is September 18th. Those two dates stick out in my mind because, respectively, those are the last two dates that you guys have released episodes on your show. And when the first stringers walk away, the bench warmers get a play, and my downloads have gone through the roof since you guys have been slacking off. So I appreciate that.
No, I think your downloads are going up just because you're out there grinding it and doing the work,
buddy. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. It's been good. I have a hard time keeping up with episodes during hunting season, obviously, but I definitely slacked off. I had like 3 episodes recorded that burned in the infamous now truck fire that I had.
Oh yeah.
I want to start real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but Chris, let's start with you. How did elk season turn out? Because I haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get back into it. So elk season was tough. I'm going to talk more about that at the Denver International Sportsman's Expo coming up here in January. Every year I end up giving a couple seminars there at the ISE show. That's what I'm going to talk about this year, because it was a tough year for a lot of people in Colorado. It was either feast or famine.
Really?
Yeah, you either had a great season or you couldn't buy an elk. And there's some I cannot be, because of how the agreement is with ISC. I can't talk about the details because they don't want me to talk about that a month before or a month after. But regardless, it was tough. Now I drew a limited license, and I burned 6 points on a unit that did not necessarily take 6 points. It's a unit I've always wanted to hunt. It's always been in the back of my mind. I've always been interested in it. I decided to burn those points this year, and I've always been a opening week type of guy. I'm like, I want to be out there opening day. Now, granted, you got to keep in mind, Colorado changed their season structure a few years back to where in the past, opening weekend was the last Saturday of August.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it just starts on a hard September 1, September 2nd or whatever.
Second, I think. Yeah.
So that automatically puts you at Labor Day weekend. And then by default, muzzleloader starts the very next weekend. And so not only was the Labor Day weekend traffic just insane, but the number of people, that hunters and just, recreationists out enjoying that, the Labor Day weekend, the last,
the last camping weekend, right?
Last hurrah was insane. But then, right about the time Monday, everybody vacates out Sunday, maybe Monday, Tuesday, you kind of get a somewhat quiet day. And then all of a sudden Wednesday, here come the guys rolling in for muzzleloader camp. And just the sheer number of people that were out there in, getting ready for muzzleloader, that first week was brutal. Now I hunted. Now I had a couple friends that hunted not with me, but in the same unit at the same time I was. We decided to divide and conquer. I would go check one area. They would go check another area. We came back and powwowed, and it took them 5 days to get on even any semblance of an elk. They were able to call a couple of them in, had just a missed opportunity, which sucks. And then their hunt had to end. I finally called in one bull, decided to pass on him, but it was to the point where that first week I was like, no way. I am not going to waste my time in this unit with this. It didn't matter what time of day, what time of night, where you went. You couldn't buy a bugle. You couldn't find an elk that even wanted to even play or move. I mean, like sitting glassing it, it just was like the entire unit was void of animals. So I bailed after the first week of season. I bailed. I'm like, screw this. No way. So I left as the muzzleloader season started to pick up, right the day before muzzleloader season. I came back to Kansas. Immediately went in and took care of a couple clients, food plot, just doing some habitat stuff. Tried because it was brutally dry.
Super dry. Yeah.
Normally I'm planting about 50 plus acres of food plots for myself and others. I think this year I did 8, and 5 of it was for friends of mine that have some ground in Nebraska. They had a little bit more moisture than I did. I tried to plant one of my plots, and as soon as I got done with that, I'm like, nope, we're done, because there's just nothing, there's no moisture to grow it. So I came back and spent roughly, I don't know, give or take, 10 days, 2 weeks, wrap that up. And then I went back to go out after that last, week to 10 days of, I'm losing exact days, but basically the last week to 10 days of season. Went in and went back to some of the areas that I wanted to hunt. Couldn't buy an elk. Talked to some guys there, some folks there that had hunted it for the past 25 years. And even they were coming to my camp going, I don't, hey, like literally, they don't know me from Adam. Like he had no clue who I was. He's like, are you hearing or seeing anything? I'm like, brother, no. And so it wasn't until,
I know that that desperation in that.
Oh no,
everybody, know what I mean?
Everybody was in the same boat.
There's like the difference between the lazy road hunter who's like, well, are you seeing anything? Versus, are you actually seeing? Like what is going on? Yeah, you could tell a difference.
Yeah, this guy actually lived up there and had been there and hunted it for the past 25 years. And I mean, he'd cover every ounce of that, of the terrain that he could. It was just brutally tough. And it wasn't until I talked to I had numerous friends that had hunted that unit and gave me all sorts of information. But it wasn't until I finally talked to, I got a hold of another friend of mine, and he's like, well, this is it. I've hunted there. And if I was going to hunt here, this is the little honey hole that I like. And he goes, go check that out. And man, he saved my hunt, because I started getting in there and I didn't even get to where he told me to go, and we got on 2 different herd bulls, and then I spent that last week just playing with those 2 different herd bulls, and had a lot of fun. As I look back on it, I can say it was fun.
Yeah,
but it was
frustrating in the time.
Oh my gosh, I got on this. So we were hunting 2 different herd bulls. So a buddy of mine, Danny Simonson, went with me. We were on 2 different herd bulls for that 7 days. Got on one herd bull 7 different times inside 60 yards. And at the moment where something was going to die, Mother Nature said no. And literally I joked with him and somebody else, that was going to be like the title of my next, if I do I need to get my butt in I got to do my podcast. To go over elk season, that's just what it's going to be is the title. Yeah. Mother Nature said no. I mean, literally Mother Nature said no. Like Mother Nature said no, to the point where on September 30th, the last day of season, I had to get some paperwork done on the 30th. It had to be submitted by the 30th, and I hadn't even done it yet.
Oh geez.
So I had to kill my hunt on the 29th. The morning of the 29th, I get on the exact same herd bull that I wanted again. This time, it's not the one herd bull. Both target herd bulls are in the same spot, converging. I'm in the middle. Here we go. My guy's 60 yards in front of me with his cows on the other side. This herd bull's cows are swinging around, going to the other herd bull, and he's coming up this little draw. He's headed right at me. I'm like, I'm just going to shut up, because these guys are coming. And at some point, holy hell, here we go. And I've got my camera. I've got my camera on the guy that I want. I'm waiting. Wind turns around. The wind's blowing in my face. At the moment where my bull decides he's going to start coming out, the wind turns. Boom, blows right at it. Blows him completely out. Okay? Blows him in the cow. This is the 7th time that this has happened on this bull.
That's what I was going to ask you, Chris, is how you said you'd been on this same bull or the same 2 bulls multiple times, and you were able to get back on them. I want to dig into that maybe in the spring with you as to how, because what I was on bulls all the time this last September. It was a great September for me. And before I sauced that one right before the truck fire, what happened is when I would bust a bull out, with the exception of the stupid little 4-point raghorn that was, he was a Democrat, so he just kept coming back. But the other ones, they would not. Once I boogied them out, if they winded me or if they saw me, I never saw these bulls again. So I'm super curious how you did that, but we don't have to talk about that now. That again, right. That's a whole other topic right there, and it's a great one.
But so the wind would blew him out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, at this point, Danny could tell my face. I'm like, words and phrases, just words and phrases. All I was just coming out of my mouth. I'm like, you've got to be blankety blank blank, and I'm like, screw it.
Yeah.
Who cares? He's coming up. So all I did is I reached out, I grabbed the handle, the camera, I turned to where he's coming up. The wind is blowing at my bull. I turn the camera, the wind switches 90. Wow. Right at the other bull.
Dang.
Blows him out.
I hate that.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, I just sat there, just dumbfounded him. And then, so he blows out, goes across the valley, up the other side. So he's lost a bunch of his cows. My guy's just blowing up the freaking mountain. I'm standing there just slack jawed, like looking at Danny.
Yeah.
Are you freaking kidding me right now?
How come you weren't wearing your dead downwind?
Dude, it didn't matter, Matt. It didn't matter. I shut the camera off. I'm like, we need to figure out. I knew where the second bull went, and he was going into a place where I was like, I can't really follow him right now, but we can put a pin on it. I said, I want to go after this other bull. I turn and go up the other hill. For the next 2 hours, while I looked for my other bull, the wind never blew in the same direction that blew me out. The wind turned and went back to being consistent. And I got up to where I parked the truck, and because this was a spot where I could, and this is the only way that it was where you had to be mobile. And you had to just get creative in how you come in on these different places. I got back up to the ridge where I parked the truck, and I got up on top, and I just sat there, and I went, it was like noon. And I was like, I can take a hint. I'm content. I got to play the game, and it was not meant to be. I was not, at that 7 times on the same damn freaking big ass herd bull inside 60 yards. Nope.
Man.
Twice with the other herd bull, same thing. Nope. Now, don't get me wrong. I did call in other bulls. I passed on a couple really nice, Danny was losing his ever loving mind. He's like, what? Like, dude, you got a 2.5, 3.5-year-old bull here. We've got that guy over there. Like what, like how, no,
yeah.
I'm not going to, no, I'm not.
It's tough.
And I did.
That's a tough deal.
I've been blessed to where, in the past, out here at least, we've got tons of meat in the freezer. I don't need to kill anything. There's absolutely zero need to kill anything, and I do not need another set of antlers on the wall. I don't need the Instagram grip and grin to be relevant. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I've got the footage. We called them in. We let them go. We had fun. The whole point was I wanted to go after that upper tier, 340 plus kind of bull. And it 7 times on one bull.
Yeah.
On another. I'm like, I got the hint.
We need to dig into that, how you did that 7 times, because again, not right now. Let's do that on another.
I'd have jumped off the nearest cliff, bro.
I know, right? Like it's funny.
I was not in a
funny
good mindset.
You say that. I'll bet I wouldn't be either, man. And it's just interesting to hear, everybody's different perspective and perception as to how like your season plays out and what you choose to do. Like I don't pass on bulls. Chris, I do need another set of antlers on the wall, and I do want that freezer more full. Right. But I will tell you, actually part of it, I had some roe hunting resources voice kind of in my head here. I did actually pass on a little bull this year. And it's the first time I've ever done it. And the only reason that thing survived is the fact that because I had him dead to right. I mean, he's 18 yards broadside looking at me like just a big dum-dum,
Yeah.
But the only reason is, and I don't even know if I've told this story on the podcast, but I had another bull that was, how you could tell when they're bugling, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but you can just kind of tell that bull that's a little further off is quite a bit bigger and he's quite a bit smarter. And, so I passed on this little guy. And I actually ended up calling in that bigger one and moved in on him. And that's the one where I posted the footage of me shooting that arrow, and it deflects off those little teeny branches and goes right over this bull's back. And so, but I was happy with that. I was actually content.
Right.
If it would have been like a miss, like I did something wrong, which I did. I didn't notice a branch. I didn't notice a series of branches, but
I'm glad you qualified it because I was about to get your ass.
Oh man, I didn't see it. I get pretty excited. I wouldn't say I get target panic, but I do get pretty amped up, and I was super excited. Because it was a whole process, 20 minutes before this, I had been standing there, with my bow drawn, about to kill this little raghorn. And I had the discipline for once in my life to not kill the little one. and that discipline is gone, by the way. If he walks in front of me tomorrow, which is last day of archery, he's fucking toast. But going back, it was this process, and I worked it up, and I got this bigger bull to come in, and ping, arrow deflects off this little teeny branch, and I was super happy about the whole day.
I was going to say, but tell me that it's not just viscerally satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, I seriously, I sat down, I sat down and cooked one of those peak refuels and replayed the whole thing in my mind, and I had nothing but a shit-eating grin and he's still off 200 yards away bugling, and I'd answer back every once in a while or whatever, but I was just super happy about the whole thing. I mean, it just couldn't have played out better, with the exception of if that arrow wouldn't have deflected, it would have been great. But anyway.
That's a rough video to watch. I will say that. When you sent that to me, I was like, oh, fucking heartache.
Oh, man, it is a heartache. But, it led to bigger and better things. And then actually that led to a truck fire, and I was fucked either way. So, whatever. But what about you, Guy? What do you reflect on your September the most about?
Man, without riding Chris's ass too much, I mean, it was kind of the same, dude. I mean, that first weekend, I didn't even consider Labor Day, right? Like, I'm going on the mountain. I'm just stoked that it's elk season. And we get up there and I'm like, oh shit, it's Labor Day weekend. And the amount of recreators.
Is that the first time you've hunted Labor Day? Labor Day weekend?
No, but I never consider it, right? And then I didn't draw anything, so I'm in an over-the-counter unit that I've never even – I walked into this thing maybe 3 to 4 weeks before season because I'm playing the leftover, and I'm like, there's 22 left. I got this. I'm at CPW's office at 4 a.m, sit there for 5 hours, second in line, first at the window, hit the button and reject it. And it was like, are you kidding me? I guess I'm OTC this year. And, the mission was to hunt behind the house.
Is behind the house, is that OTC?
It's kind of, the split from the draw unit to the OTC unit is only about 5 miles away as a crow flies from 34 to 33 to the east. But right behind the house, literally, 3/4 of a mile up the street is all 33. It's a draw unit.
Gotcha.
And it's big country, and the flat tops are interesting. I've never hunted that terrain. It's so expansive, and it's so easy for the animals to move. I mean, you're talking, what do you think, Chris? They can go 20, 30 miles in a day, no problem. I mean, it's that flat. It's that wide open, easy terrain for them.
Keep in mind, they can do that in the mountains on hilly shit. So, I mean,
Yeah.
You get up, they call it the flat tops. I mean, now, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's not a pool table flat. I mean, it's rolling, but it's this gargantuan plateau that just gets, you go steep up out of the bottoms, and then it just this massive freaking rolling landscape that, oh my gosh. Yeah. They just pick up and leave, or they can just sit there and do loops around you. Like you bump them and they just circle around, get behind you. They just do loops, or drop off the side, button hook around, pop back up, go around. I mean, it's place,
interesting terrain. It's
and there's a lot of people that like it.
Holy crap, man. So, I mean, that was, I actually talked about this on Chris's last episode. I'm honored to be the last.
You were. I listened to that. I really enjoyed that episode. Actually,
I was not in a good place. I was not in a good place that day.
Man, you guys killed it though. That was a great episode.
That was a rough one to see Chris on that one in the beginning, but I had some good opportunities, man, and I had, I hold out. Like I have this bull in mind every year, and I had a couple opportunities. One of them, I sat there with this rag and I toiled with myself. And by the time I finished toiling with myself and said, screw it, shoot him, the opportunity was blown.
Yeah, missed it.
The crowds were it was just crazy. It was something that I hadn't experienced in that level. Cause I'm always, I hear people going, I'm like, where the hell are you guys hunting? And I was able to get away from folks. But it was interesting, man. Then I ended up in New Mexico early October on a muzzleloader hunt. And, so we're on a private land muzzleloader hunt. Okay. So I'm this pretty much over the counter public land guy that always sees bulls sitting on private that I can't get to. I go on a private land hunt, dude. And this property is parceled out, right? So they have 10,400 acres and it's in these small breaks. And then the area that we were hunting, this guy started selling 20-acre plots. So
like checkerboard kind of stuff?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's a private land only tag. So we get into this fucking rut fest, dude. I mean, they're going off, right? And I got this monster of a herd bull just screaming. One point he was 40 yards away, no shot, right? And I'm like, oh, this is golden. Well, they start boogieing up this drainage and we get back, maybe 3/4 of a mile. We're still on him. He comes, never got a shot. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we can't go anymore. That's public land that they're on. So they're going into
That's
this
crazy.
they're going into this little basin, this public land basin that's landlocked by private. Well, so now you got all these private land hunters that are pushing them to public, and they're landlocked on this little goddamn rectangle of public that we can't get to. And I'm like, this is some I don't even know why I like elk hunting, bro. Because it was like, this is bullshit.
That's why you like it.
Situation.
Yeah, it was like, what in the actual? And I mean, it was a great experience because I was there with Diego, and that was the reason for the hunt, right? But then you go and you get this tag, and you're like, this don't even make sense. And I'm like, I came back and I'm like, come on, mule deer season, because I can kill the shit out of some mule deer.
Yeah, you got a nice one, man.
But
you got a stud buck this year.
But those elk, man, they kicked my butt this year, and it was nice because, what I was opposite of what Chris was saying. I talked to 12, 13 people and they're like, we haven't seen anything. And I'm in elk every day. I'm just in quiet elk and I'm looking for bedded elk. And I'm fighting through the situations, right? I mean, no vocalizations less the second day of the season.
Sure.
And we caught a mass exodus on the second day of season. All that traffic that was up above us pushed them basically down valley. They dropped into these nasty ass drainages. And for me, I temper it, right? Like, I'm like, look, that's from where we're at to where they're going to stop. It's 8 miles in between there, right? Guy is going to go 2.5, 3 miles. Lucky if I go 4 down there, but coming out of there and it's 80 degrees those first couple of days of season. It's like, I want to kill an elk, but do I want to kill an elk and risk what's involved in that? So we kind of tempered it, stayed a little higher than they went, and I never connected, man.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was a good learning experience, and but
you said like, I don't even know why I elk hunt or whatever you said. But if elk hunting was the opposite, if it was like I don't know, trout fishing. I don't know, not trout fishing. Trout fishing could be pretty tough. No offense to trout fishermen out there. I'm a trout fisherman. Now I'm going to get a bunch of nasty emails, Chris. God damn it. But you know what I mean? If it was like wild hog hunting in Texas on the farms where they're overrun everywhere and you just kind of go sit out there and wait, it wouldn't be there. We wouldn't have all these podcasts about it. We wouldn't talk about it all the time. We wouldn't be as obsessed.
When you go and you get your ass kicked for 20 some odd days, then go out another 6 and all the private land bulls are now on public land that you can't get
it's
to.
frustrating.
You gotta go. You gotta look up and just say, what are you doing to me?
It's really frustrating. I'll tell you.
Isn't it nice every now and then to have one of those elk hunts? It's kind of like the hog hunt where you just walk in and
kind of is,
screaming and everything's running over, and you get to be picky, and then you shoot a really good one.
It's super irritating
all the time, but it really is nice when you have those type of deals every now and then.
Man.
I always, every year, I see it on social media. Oh yeah, I pulled up to the trailhead and 100 yards off, there was this, 300 class bugling bull that walked right up to me and I sauced him. There's always that story. That's never happened to me. I've never had an easy time. But what's really irritating is from like January 1st until about August 15th on we've got 26 acres here. I've got elk all over my property. We'll go walking around with the dogs and we'll bump up a bunch of bedded elk and I can sneak in and listen to them mewing at each other. It's a hoot. I love it. And I learn a lot about elk by having them here. But as soon as, our season here opens on August 30th, they have been abducted by aliens and they're nowhere to be seen. So I think, okay, well, if I don't get one in September, my tag is good for like muzzleloader in November, or even now. I can actually, we've got late archery open. So if I see a bull and I want to put my snowshoes on and trudge out there and try to get one with my arrow, I can shoot them. And so we have all these long seasons, and I'm like, okay, so we're good. Even if I shoot a cow or whatever, well, I'll be fine, because they're always on my property. Nope. They've been gone since mid-August. Haven't seen them since. So what do you do?
January 1st.
No. So season closes for elk on the 16th, which is tomorrow. Right. So you bet your ass Saturday morning there's going to be elk all over this property.
Yeah.
Just can't find your driveway.
I'm looking at elk 5 days a week, either from the house or if I'm going up valley towards Aspen or something. I'm seeing elk every single day almost.
Yeah.
So then to head up the mountain and go, where you at? It's a
all
trip,
right,
man.
So what we need to do, because this Chris Rowe has he has a bad habit of sidetracking important conversations to only elk when I'm on with him.
Me?
And I want to blame it on Chris, but I actually, this is technically what I've always kind of dubbed the hunt panel episodes, where we discuss the current or over, I don't know, big problems within the hunting space that kind of as we see it, and provide solutions if we can. Not that anybody listens to us, but that's the idea of these episodes, to discuss the things that most people aren't willing to discuss, and to talk about some of the harder topics and some of the harder issues. And I see that smirk, Chris. I don't know what's going on over there.
It's your world, brother. I'm just trying to live in it.
You had a hell of a summer. All right.
Look at that,
you had
Chris.
a hell of a summer with your, what do you got there?
Yeah, that'll work. That very nice. Hell
nice
yeah.
buck, huh?
Hell yeah.
I mean, another year would have been good on that. Totally kidding. But I want to kick this kind of off in the direction of where kind of, Chris, you kind of brought it up a little bit earlier, in a sense that, you're not one of those guys that needs to post a grip and grin for your social media. And I want to talk about that particular topic for a minute. Not necessarily just the grip and grin. I want to talk about this whole hunting influencer kind of this portrayal that some people have the tendency to try to get all these followers on social media, and maybe sometimes there's not a lot of honesty on some of that. And I know that everybody recognizes it. I really do. I just don't think that a lot of people want to talk about it. And I think that not that it's necessarily like this big damaging thing to hunting, but I think that there is some negative connotation that comes out of it from non-hunters that maybe see this as a way for people to take advantage of the hunting system and the conservation system, and a thing that we do. And maybe it sometimes gets taken out of context. And I don't know if I'm making much sense here, but do you kind of understand are you guys smelling what I'm stepping in with the, premise of the conversation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, again, it's one of those topics. I don't care if people get pissed off about talking about it. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but if people's feelings get hurt, it's just what comes out of it. Because I do see, again, I don't think it's this huge major problem.
We're entitled to our opinion. Don't start apologizing before we start talking, right? I mean,
well, yeah, and I'm not, but I think it's important to set the conversation up that it has a potential to become a major issue for the future of hunting if we don't squash it now and kind of recognize that some of these people are doing this for money and doing this for the wrong reasons. Not to sound like we're on a Bachelor episode or something, but they're not here for the right reasons. And I want to talk about it. And it's been bothering me for a long time. And so, I mean, Guy, you sound like you had something to say about that.
So that's a rough one, right? I don't necessarily think that it's for the wrong reasons. If someone's in this for business, then more power to them if they figure that out and they can make a living at it. And that's part of that game. The issue that I have with it is we live in a fucking echo chamber, right? We live in a vacuum, and there's no, and this is one of the reasons I've struggled not just the last few months, but the last year and a half with consistency on my podcast, and because we live in an echo chamber, I want to affect.
What do you mean by echo chamber? What do you mean?
Because we're talking to each other. What benefit do we serve the demographic or our passion if we're just talking to each other? I don't need to fucking influence Chris Rowe. Chris Rowe influenced me for my damn entire elk hunting career and me chasing turkey. What am I doing? I'm just repeating what the fuck Chris has taught me over his platform. It's a fucking echo chamber, and it's the same. It just goes like this, round and around, and it's like a fucking big circle jerk. I don't know if that makes sense to people.
No, actually, that's a good way to put it. It
drives me crazy, and then we're fucking lazy, right? We want this benefit to hunting, but then all we're doing is talking to each other. We're not reaching out. We're not trying to. Dennis Dunn wrote a book, right? And he wrote a book about all his bear bow kills. And I met Dennis, seems like 2 or 3 years ago. And I was going to podcast with him, and I haven't because I want to finish reading his book. And the way he approached this book, I mean, this guy has grand slammed everything with a bear bow, right? Mm-hmm. He wrote this book for non-hunters. There's not enough of that. And not to say that I want to change someone's mind, but I want to benefit the future of this. How do we do that if we're just living in that echo chamber or living in that vacuum? It's likened to the political shit that we see all over social media, and all these other, news media platforms and everything, right? You're just talking to the people that have the same fucking opinion and view as you. What good does it do? Right. And then you can't say anything about it like that. Right. Or someone, like you said, somebody might get pissed, but I'm not going to apologize for it. It just, we have to figure out how we,
I was not apologizing. Don't ever misconstrue with a setup. I was setting up. I don't apologize, but I do agree with, I'm actually writing some of the stuff you're talking about, but I mean, because, and I actually had this conversation earlier on somebody else's podcast, but who are we talking to? Who are we? I mean, my show is centered around people who enjoy Western hunting and want to be passionate about hunting, in the effort to make sure that we have enough people that are passionate to defend hunting. But what does defend hunting look like?
Right. But that's you. But that's you doing
that's
it.
Me.
What the fuck
that's
are the people
me doing
that are listening to you. What are they doing? How are they taking the Western Huntsman's message and mission and playing that forward or perpetuating that out in front of all this other shit? I was just reading this thing about the Colorado wolves, right? And I'm trying to figure out how I can impact that. I mean, they're talking about 200 fucking wolves that they're going to release just north of me, right? Like, okay, I'm trying to figure out as a new resident, what do I do? Well, you got motherfuckers that have dealt with this issue as residents of the state since its inception, and no one's really done anything. The wolves are fucking here. Why are we putting 200 more in? Let them fucking do their thing. It just,
they breed at a rate of over 40% a year. So it's,
we talk to each other. We complain to each other. Our actions don't affect anything outside of our demographic. And it's just a bunch of fucking jargon that we spit to each other all the time.
Chris, what say you on this whole thing so far? I keep seeing you get this look on your face. Like, I know you got something to say.
That's the problem. I don't have, it's that if there's a criticism of me, it's, I never have a lack of something to say. And, this is your podcast, man. So, I mean, it's just, but there's a reason why I was not in a good headspace in September. And, there's other stuff going on out here. But if we, this fall's been difficult for a lot of people. And, I've been wrestling with this for quite some time as well. We go back all the way back to Matt Ranella's discussion, on the Meat Eater podcast and on with Joe Rogan and some of the other ones that, was it Blood Origins?
I think that one was with Blood Origins.
Yeah. So
I never even heard that one. I just heard all the repercussions from it.
It's worth a listen because
is it?
Everybody reacted and very few people listened. No, did I agree with everything that Matt said? No, especially as he went on, because it just seemed like he got a little bit more wound up and a little bit more sensational as the time went on. And I don't know why that is. Maybe he felt that he was with a sympathetic ear and he just started to snowball and it went, but it doesn't matter. He brought up some really good points. And same thing with the points that he was bringing up with his brother and on the Meat Eater podcast. Just the thing that I've been wrestling with here lately is, I had a very viscerally oppositional viewpoint to the whole hashtag public landowner movement. I freaking hate that. I hate it.
Are you talking about from back a few years ago when there was like this? It was like super trendy to be for public land kind of thing. Right. Or are you talking about this last summer?
Yeah, no. Just nope. When the first hashtag public landowner movement was starting to go, I'm like, you have no idea what it actually involves being a landowner. Like, shut the fuck up. Like your contribution to anything is this it's minuscule. Like if you actually knew what it required to actually manage habitat and actually provide for what the critters that you want to go kill, because that's what it's about. You want to go kill something. You have no concept. And this is why, and just the expense and all that goes into it. No, everybody loves the popular. Everybody loves the sensational. Everyone loves the idea, but no one has ever. I can't say no one. There's a lot of folks out there that do know what it takes. And to your point, Guy, like what I don't know. This is where, man, I don't want to dominate this discussion because I still don't even have my head wrapped around some of the things that I want to talk about on my podcast because I need to find some good people to just echo, like just rail against that they can listen to me rant and then frame it and provide some context, good content back because I'm now, the hashtag public landowner movement kind of like went and now it's this whole
kind of went by the wayside. Yeah.
Well, it flared out like all sensational bullshit does.
Exactly. It was a
fundraiser. It was a fundraising campaign for certain organizations that went wildfire because everybody was looking for a way to stand on the pedestal of the build up their moral pedestal on the North American model of wildlife conservation without having any concept of what actually the foundation looked like and what it takes. And now today it's the hunting is conservation. Again, which I say you're full of shit.
Yeah, I want to. That's one of my key topics because I do, and I don't want to get there yet. We'll come back to hunting as conservation because I actually agree with your sentiment, and I am very pro public land. I am a proponent of public land, right?
Sure.
But I was way before it was cool for all these hipsters to congregate and talk about how they're public land owners and
as a fundraiser.
Yeah. So, and that is where what I talk about on my show is where a lot of this anti-hunting movement and funding and organizations kind of come from, where they get a lot of their money is this need to feel like they're part of this tribe and like this, they're building themselves up on this moral pedestal, right? To feel important. Because everybody has to feel like they're a part of something. And when they don't, why not respond negatively or positively, I guess, depending on what side it's coming from, to some of these emotional propagated advertisements that are shown on late night television and pull out their credit card and start donating to things like the United States Humane Society. Or I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Humane Society of the United States. And that's what it is. This tribalistic thing, this need to belong. And this need to show other people that they belong to something. And I think that that's what happened in the public land discussions. And I noticed ever since COVID hit, nobody talks about public land anymore unless they're talking shit about public land, like Ammon Bundy or somebody like that. And I get it. It did burn itself out. But I think that it needs to be all of these topics that we're talking about need to be something greater than just a trendy thing to go down to some trendy brewery and wear a flannel shirt and talk about how you're pro public land. That's not how this shit works. And it's not how we defend it.
Well, and to your point, listen, I don't want to, humans by nature need to have community, have to have interaction, connectivity with other humans. Some humans want more, some humans want less, but community is huge and important. So the idea of tribalism is always been there, but the thing that I'm getting more and more disgusted by is seeing organizations, individuals, and I say that, and there's organizations that are trying to, get memberships and donations and everything else, but there's also individuals utilizing it. To what you're saying, Guy, with the echo chamber, basically we end up getting in these silos of these tribes, these silos of belief, these silos of ideas. And what just sucks, I just see it so freaking often, is just we get this sensationalism just whipping people into these different silos. It doesn't help. It doesn't help with a broad conversation, and all it does is it's self-grandizing. What is it? What am I trying to say?
Grandiose.
Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're talking about.
It's not moving the needle on what is going to save us in the long run, but I don't know if some of these people you actually care about that.
That's okay. You just nailed it.
And that's the thing that just, it's like, so to your point, Guy, the benefit of talking about it is whether it's yours, whether it's, here, whether it's mine, whether it's anybody else's, whether it's Meat Eater. I don't agree with all the stuff that the Meat Eater guys talk about. I vehemently disagree with some of it. But I love the freaking hell out of the fact that they actually have it out there. And that we can talk about, they do have some of these discussions, and others as well. I think we're going to have some of these uncomfortable discussions, and whether or not we actually impact anybody, I don't know. But if nothing else, we're never going to be able to change someone's mind. All we can do is if we say something that resonates, plants a seed, all we can hope is that person takes that and has the gumption to foster it into some idea or critical thinking on their own part, and then they do something with it. That's all we can do is have these conversations and say, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I don't like, and here's why I don't like it. And you tell us, you tell me, you tell whoever whether or not you agree or disagree. Like my whole thing with the hunting is conservation. I'm sorry, I call bullshit. But in same thing with your frustration, Guy, with the wolves in Colorado. I'm frustrated with this. I'm not even a resident, and I'm frustrated because I watch the entire sportsman's community sit with their thumb up their ass. Yep. And now they're going to sit there and complain about the management plan. Piss off. You've had how many years now to actually do something about it, and you did nothing. Nothing. You did nothing except bitch and complain and
wait for someone else to come save the fucking day.
You wait. Exactly. It's like, come on. Now, and I've talked about it a couple times in a couple different places. So it's not like the information's not out there. I even pitched the information to individuals that are in the community, the sportsman's community, that are somewhat quote unquote leaders. Fuck all. Nothing. It went nowhere.
You're talking about directly the wolf reintroduction into Colorado.
Yeah.
Is that I mean,
so it's like shut up.
Yeah.
You've had how many years to get involved in an intelligent way? But we don't. What do we have? We've got the same freaking tired organizations. Honestly, I see some of these organizations that I really do think that they want to see this move forward simply so they can whip up sportsman anger, so those sportsmen pay dollars to the organization so that organization can continue to exist. It's like some freaking perverted bastardization of Munchausen's by proxy.
Yeah.
Like, good Lord, like, do you give a shit or not? Like, I'm done. I'm like,
I have the same thought, because a lot of times I touch on the anti-hunting movement, and I think that the vast majority of people that are on that side of the fence, do want hunting to end in every way. But I think that there is a cottage industry that comes out of that where it's almost like, if hunting ended, they'd be out of business. And so they don't. They push things to a certain extent, but at some point their crowd is going to get sick of it. And that I think is where I'm at for our crowd. I am sick of it. Okay. Using the public land, this
is why we are constantly being whipped up to go chase after the next big thing. Here's the next crisis.
But meanwhile,
oh God, no.
But meanwhile, there's real issues. There's real issues that need to be solved, and there's real things that are taking place. And so, and again, using the public land as an example, granted, okay, yeah, you bought a T-shirt with a hashtag on it, and you think you're this public land advocate, but yet you don't know the history. You don't know how public land and the unlikelihood of how it even came about is now in place and how unique it is throughout the world. And I'm not going to pick on those organizations right now, but I will. I can
say this shit because I'm gonna say this. I'm a fucking minority. So anybody wants to holler about it. It's the Democratic Party in hunting with minority every 2 years. What do? Here's your problem. We're the fucking solution. And there's never a solution. And 2 years later, there's another problem and we're the solution again. Right. Mm-hmm. And it just goes round and round and round. And that, listening to Chris and listening to you right now, that's what it made me think of. Right. Is, there's the problem. And just like Chris said, let's get on this problem. Let's, hey, this problem, this is the carrot dangling on the stick, membership. Send us 35. We'll send you a shirt. And then nothing happens. It doesn't do fucking all. And, just to use it as an example, boom, the wolf introduction and nothing has happened. Yeah, so where did that go?
But to your point, though, I would correct it and say it's not a Democrat. It's a progressive ideology because you can have right-wing progressives.
This is very true.
Some of the organizations that I am just disgusted and done with are typically considered right-wing center organizations. You're still a progressive.
Right. It was easier for me to say that as the example.
And that's fine. But people need to understand. And that's why I've got that YouTube video on understanding ideology. It goes on both sides it's on both sides.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. I haven't seen that video. You put out a new video called Understanding Ideology?
It's not new, but it's been there a while. Been there. Yeah. You go through it. Cause I'm still wrestling trying to get part 2 up. And quite honestly, it doesn't matter. Anyway. Go through it because it starts to dive into some of this stuff because that's the case is a lot of these groups that are, again, how many times have I said it? There's 2 types of people in this world. Those who wish to be left alone and those that refuse to. And then the other part of it is the world is run by those who show up. Well, guess who always shows up? It's not the people that want to be left alone. Yeah. It's the people that refuse to. And whether you're right or left or right, middle or left of the ideological spectrum, you can have that progressive ideology where it ends justify the means. And this is what I see is just we're so, I don't know. There's so much. I mean, Jim, there's so much here to dissect. This is why I just said this is your world. I just want to live in it because I've got 4 months. I've got 4 months of notes over here.
Well, you've been building up, man. That's what happens when you don't let this out on a podcast. Then this stuff gets, built up, and we get this big, burst of information coming out.
It's not going to be a burst of information. That's going to be hellfire, son.
But
and I love it. I love it. But
what's been chapping your ass? I mean, like you wanted to have this discussion. Yeah. What are some of the topics that resonated with you? And I would say we focus it. Otherwise, we're going to have 4 hours of this, of just stuff, just going all over the place and never.
Yeah.
No,
that's a good way. I do want to kind of keep it somewhat concise, but what's chapping my ass, I think, is the lack of action and this phony outrage that sometimes takes place, from people who act like they're so pissed off about some topic or some certain thing or a piece of legislation or, whatever. and nothing comes of it. Like people don't get off their ass and do anything about it. Nobody speaks up. Everybody's terrified of the woke left and doesn't want to fight back against that. So, everybody's, walking on eggshells so that nobody's offended. And then if you really narrow that down to the hunting community, when there are issues such as this wolf topic in the state of Colorado, man, that was something that we had on my show, multiple discussions about the issues of so-called wolf reintroduction into the state of Colorado and the repercussions to include people that actually know shit about this, like you, Chris, that are actual wildlife biologists or ecologists or behavioralists or any of those things that we discussed, and how they will link up with the Mexican wolf down in Arizona and Mexico, and how that will kind of wipe out the coyote population. I mean, we had all sorts of conversations about it. Did it create a ruckus in Colorado and between my show and everybody else's show that's talking about this wolf issue? People didn't show up, and so now wolves are going to be reintroduced into Colorado.
And the problem is what they'll say is, well, it's because of Denver and it's because of Colorado Springs, and they have the population, and that's who voted for it.
There is only one call company here at the Western Huntsman, and that is Phelps Game Calls, born out of hunting and the necessity to make the best calls on the market. Jason Phelps started this company in his garage back in 2009, and now he's got some of the finest lineup of elk calls, turkey calls, predator calls, waterfowl calls available on the market. If you guys go to the website, check it out and get what you need. And if you're in the market, when you go to checkout, use promo code Huntsman10 for 10% off. Whether you're just getting started or have expert level calling skills, check it out at Phelps Game Calls. Get them close. Hoffman Boots is a fourth-generation owned boot company, a family of shoemakers based in North Idaho. I've been sporting a pair of Hoffmans for close to a decade, and I really like the Hoffman Explorer in the 8-inch. It's the best boot out there, so check it out at hoffmanboots.com, and you'll see the whole lineup of hunting boots and lineman boots and pack boots and everything else right there on the website. And if you choose to purchase a pair of boots, make sure you use the promo code, all caps lock, Huntsman10 for 10% off. SKRE Gear, extreme high-performance hunting attire and gear that is scientifically tested. Complete layering systems and some of the finest merino wool products to keep you warm and comfortable. And it's all backed by a great company. What I really like about SKRE is if you go to the website, they have these bundle options like the elk bundle or the whitetail bundle or the turkey bundle. All that stuff that'll get you completely outfitted for your favorite hunt. The starter bundle is a really good deal. Make sure you check that out. They've got the VIP sizing guarantee. And so you can exchange something if it doesn't fit right at absolutely no charge to you. Guys, it's a great warranty, great company. And at checkout, as always, use promo code The Western Huntsman for 15% off and free shipping. The Elk Collective. Folks, the best investment you can make when it comes to hunting is what's between your ears. Having elk knowledge is what separates those who succeed every once in a while versus those who notch a tag every single year. So go to the Elk Collective and sign up. There's over 150 videos in this online course to teach you everything you need to know by some of the best experts to ever enter the elk woods. It's a great program at a great price, guys. And if you use the promo code, The Western Huntsman, you're going to get $20 off of your entire course. So instead of $89, you'll get it for $69. And now that September is over and we're into October and November and all these fall hunts, if you get it now, you're going to have an entire year to go through all this course. And believe me, you're going to need it. There's so much content in there. So check it out and use the promo code, The Western Huntsman, all one word. Last but not least is Tacticam. Guys, you know I've been using Tacticam for a very long time. I really like my Tacticam 5.0s. I like my Tacticam in the wide lens, so you can get that kind of wider angle and shot. They've upgraded now. They've got the Tacticam 6.0, which is super cool. I can't wait to get mine. And also the cell cams. Don't forget about the Tacticam Reveal cell cams. They've got a bunch of different series of these things, and I've got them all over my property, so I know what's going on at all times. Whether I got a bear that's coming after my chickens,
or if I have an intruder down at the driveway, or if I have a giant monster whitetail buck over in my hunting spot, I know what is going on at all times. I love my Tacticam reveals, guys. Check it out at tacticam.com. Let's get back to the show. Here we go. Well, I mean, there's probably a little bit of truth to that, but...
Yeah, but they want the ballot initiative passed by 1 percentage point.
I know, yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
It was such a slim margin.
And that's the thing is, you look at what the original ballot initiative said, or why when you saw the interviews and people talking about why did you vote for this ballot initiative, the number of people that were like, I thought it was a neat idea to have wolves in Colorado. That's a very weak commitment to an idea. Mm-hmm. That ballot initiative passed by 1 percentage point on a weak. I thought it would be cool. There was no.
These are not wildlife people.
No, they're not wildlife people. But let's compare and contrast. We weren't talking about the abortion issue. When you talk to somebody about the abortion issue, you have there's like probably 1% that are ambivalent about it. Everyone else has a visceral, deep-seated belief. Okay, I don't know. I don't give a shit what your belief is, but it's like, no, this is what I believe. Damn it. Mm-hmm. With the wolf issue, that wasn't it. It wasn't like we were voting on the Colorado voted on the abortion issue. No, this was a wolf issue, and it passed by vapors, like vapors. And all it was it'd be neat to have wolves in Colorado. Well, guess what? You have wolves in Colorado. You've got a breeding pair. You've got new wolf pups. Like, you have them. Like, why the sportsman community did not rally, put together another ballot initiative and say, we need to hit the brakes. We've achieved the intellectual, the emotional threshold that passed what people wanted when we voted for the first ballot initiative on wolves. We've achieved it. Colorado has achieved it. We have wolves in Colorado. We've achieved it. So how about we put the brakes? We not spend any money. Let's not reintroduce any new ones. How about we just foster what we have? I'll bet you any money you would have gotten the number of signatures that fast. Number one. And number two, it could have been on this past November election or ballot. And I guarantee, I am a firm believer that it would have passed. You would have had people that voted in favor of the previous wolf initiative that would have changed their vote and said, oh, no, that's awesome. We've got wolves. Yeah. We don't need to be wasting any more dollars. We don't need to spend. Let's help these. Let's make it. Did we have any of that?
How come, Chris, that how come it is so much easier for the other side to go to Colorado and have these messages reach so many people and be convincing that wolves on the landscape in the state of Colorado is a good thing versus logical and tangible evidence to discuss that there or to express that there's already wolves on the landscape, and it would be a much more natural thing to allow that wolf population to kind of naturally come into its own in the state of Colorado. Why is it so much difficult? Why am I always on the side that seems to be so much more difficult to convey messages when it's so obvious to guys like you and I, but to the masses, it's just not. It's like missing something. What are we doing wrong?
Doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect those masses.
Is that because of a lack of emotion or why? Why doesn't it affect them?
One, it's the Western slope. So if we're talking population and who voted for this shit, those wolves are reintroduced into the Western slope. It doesn't affect them. They may come over to the slope to, recreate for the day and happen to see a wolf, but it doesn't affect them ultimately. And it's, it's a wolf, right? It's furry. It's somehow fucking cuddly.
Is it that emotional thing? Is it that thing? If I could spit this out right. Is it the emotion? And I guess that's what I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Is do you guys have a take as to why it is so much easier for the human brain to be like, okay, this is emotional. This fills me with the endorphins or whatever that makes me feel good versus why is tangible evidence and actual reason so not fulfilling to the human brain? Does this maybe I'm going too deep. I don't know.
No,
what the fuck?
You're not. So it doesn't affect them. Okay. Now what the other side is saying is that, well, the wolves were here and we should bring those wolves back to their natural habitat, their natural landscape. Our hands have been on the shit for eons, right? So they're going, oh, well, yeah, it's their natural habitat. We should bring them back. They don't understand the ramifications of that decision because that information isn't provided. How is it going to affect the deer herds, the elk herds, fuck the bear, the bobcat, and the mountain lion for that matter? They are unattached to the ramifications of it, right? It's just they were here, bring them back. That's all it is. I mean, It goes, look at California, right? California with the wolves, California's discussion with the fucking grizzly bears, California's decision on mountain lions. Why is that all okay? It's because it doesn't affect them. And that's one of the things when we talk about it, we always say, well, fuck, when those mountain lions start coming and taking your dogs and your cats. I mean, look at the coyotes. What was that? That was a week, 2 weeks ago, Woodland Hills. The guy's unloading his fucking car with groceries and the coyote comes and grabs his little girl. Right. Yeah. It's the same thing.
I don't know if it was a little girl. Maybe it was a little boy. I don't know. It was a kid.
It was a little kid, but I think it was a girl. I'm almost
Are you
certain.
Assuming? You're assuming?
Don't even fucking go down that road, brother. I'm not assuming anything. There's two. We'll say that. But it's almost blissful ignorance on their part. And good on them for having a heart, right? And thinking that, and yes, that animal belongs on the landscape the animal belongs on, but they don't know the ramifications. They're removed from it. You can't expect them to have all the information if it's not presented. The problem is that we're not on the other side presenting the information that counters what they think about it. And I think that's where the problem is. When you're removed from it, you just don't know. I could tell you both about hood shit, right? And you'll look at me like, what the hell? Right? You have no idea because you're removed from it. You know, and
are you saying I don't live in the hood and I don't have a dangerous neighborhood?
You live in Idaho.
Idaho. Well, Chris, this would be a question for you.
Fuck.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. And I wouldn't know. I wouldn't understand what that lifestyle even looks like or how to relate it to my own lifestyle. Right. So
it's the same thing.
So the question would be, I guess, in a simplified way, maybe to Chris, is why is emotion so much easier to sell than reality?
Well, the easy answer is most people today operate off of that emotion. I mean, emotion isn't easy. It is easy to latch into. There's there's all sorts of different people that have talked about that, whether it's Peterson and Huberman and all sorts of other stuff, just the way your brain is. So emotion absolutely is easy to tap into. And it goes straight to deep to the core of your psyche. Number one. Number two, how many decades now have we raised our children and operated ourselves within society based on emotion because it feels good? I mean, hell, you've got a sitting congresswoman who says, basically facts don't matter. It's about feelings. It's like, what the hell? We have an entire society these days that has been told that what you feel is more important than what is real. And we have acquiesced and created public policy and around catering to emotion and vilified those that want to speak truth and facts and reality, etc. So there's a long standing, the society has shifted grotesquely in the direction of just being emotional. But I think, and
I could tell the wheels are spinning, but you're being cautious
because I don't know. I don't have a fleshed out way to succinctly articulate this. I think the reason why I think the reason why we lose on some of these arguments about whether it's wolves, whether it's predator, whether it's mountain lions, whether it's predator
spring
hunting,
bear hunting in Washington. That's another one sore subject for me.
And I think the reason why we lose as sportsmen is because the fundamental argument, the base level motivation of our argument is absolute fucking bullshit.
So let's talk about that. What are you talking about?
Who gives a shit?
Fundamental base.
Jim, who gives a shit if wolves go into Colorado and knock the ever-living shit out of elk in the White River National Forest? Who gives a shit if wolves go in and absolutely knock the ever-living shit out of moose in northern Colorado? Why, in the North American model of wildlife conservation, are we supposedly, why is hunting something that it exists? Now, I can tell you what intrinsically how I am and my DNA and how I'm hardwired, but the vast majority of the average sportsman is going to say, well, we're out there because we've got to regulate the populations and we got to make sure that the wildlife populations live within the carrying capacity of the wildlife, of the habitat. So we don't, we make sure that, hunting is conservation because we're out there making sure the elk aren't overeating our house and home. And so that way all the little critters are saved and pretty. Guess what? Wolves do that very fucking well. I'm out here in Kansas right now watching about between 60 and 80+% of our deer population go through the shitter. And I'm watching numerous coyote packs on the landscape. The density of our coyotes is absolutely insane. And they're acting like wolves on the landscape. I can't make an argument. And this is what I wrestled with our hunting season this year. We had guys that were already they drew their tags, they spent their money. This was on the. I shut down my turkey hunts last year because we don't have the number of birds on the landscape to do it. I've had numerous people ask me.
I remember that.
2023. I've sent everybody an email back saying there is no plan for Chris Rowe to run turkey hunts in 2023 because we don't have the birds to ethically do it. I'm sitting here looking at our deer population going, I don't know how ethically we even argue running high numbers of hunters. We can't. I shut down all of our doe management hunts because there is no doe management necessary on the landscape. We are going to have a problem between chronic wasting disease, agriculture changes, drought, you name it, and coyote predation. We are going to have a very difficult time these next several years maintaining our deer population. But yet we've got a state that doesn't give a shit, apparently, and we've got hunters that are still coming out here. They're like, I'm coming out. Oh, I couldn't. It was a tough season. I couldn't. We were just behind those big bucks. We couldn't. So we just went on doe patrol. You went on doe patrol for what? Doe management? What fucking does do you need to shoot? You don't need to shoot a damn one. We need to protect our freaking does right now because they're getting slaughtered. When we sit there and we argue as a sportsman society, a group of body, and we want to argue against wolf introduction, don't give me this shit about disease. Don't give me this shit about all the, elk populations. Don't give me this shit about, some baby getting yanked off of somebody's back frickin' SUV. You don't give a shit about that. You give a shit about whether or not you're going to be able to buy an over-the-counter tag and have a good elk season. You give a shit on whether or not you're going to have enough mule deer out there on the landscape to where you can actually hunt them and kill them. You're doing absolutely jack shit all to actually advocate for habitat improvement and actually forest management, forest health, range health. Hell, we come out here to private land. We've got how many people out here doing hunters? Just the average Joe Schmedley hunter that just goes and buy a hunting license doing jack shit about trying to do anything to help the critter. All they give a shit is about killing a critter. So when we have a conversation about spring bear, what the fuck are you actually arguing for? Do you have a bear population problem? Do you have a problem? Or do you have bears killing more elk that pisses you off because you can't kill an elk in the fall? So you're upset that you have competition on the landscape. So God damn it, kill the predators. So I have more elk to hunt in the fall. And I just want to be able to go out and kill because that's fucking fun. So I want another season to go out there and go shoot something. I don't.
So I mean, let me ask you. Let me
go ahead.
ask you something.
I'm telling you.
No. I like this. I love it. I love it when you get fired up, dude.
Hellfire, baby.
I love it. I do want to. I want to talk about that spring bear for a minute because, does it really matter as a hunter or an anti-hunter? Does it really matter in terms of managing bears as through hunting? Right? Like I say that from a stance of, well, I'll give you a great example. I had the Idaho Fish and Game, the director of Idaho Fish and Game on the show. And he says the choice of Idaho for the state of Idaho, how we manage our wildlife is through hunting, right? Okay. So what that means is they're going to have the scientific data come towards them, to them. And they're going to determine, okay, we could sell this many elk tags, this many bear tags. We've got this bear population in this unit and, this elk population in that unit. I'm getting a little bit off track. I'm going to go back to the Washington part. Let me ask you this, Chris. The Washington spring bear, you're asking is do they have a bear problem? No, they don't have a bear problem, but they have a very robust bear population. And I'll tell you who had a problem was New Jersey that canceled their hunting season. Talk about that.
Stop.
Okay, go.
Well, then let's focus on Washington.
Okay, let's talk about Washington.
What is the sportsman's argument for having a spring bear season?
I think the sportsman's argument is the experience of it, and it is a management issue to an extent. But let's talk about it. Spring is a great time to hunt black bears, right? It's a great time to hunt black bears.
Take a step back.
Can I cut you off? Wait, can I cut you off? Is it a management issue, or are we just mad because we're losing something? No.
Bear hunting in Washington is not a management issue. It's not like bears are an overpopulated problem. It's a heritage. What was that?
We're getting something taken away.
Recreational opportunity.
Sure. Yeah. And what is wrong with the recreational opportunity when you have a healthy bear population? And as of right now without spring bear, do I think that the potential for the state of Washington to have bear problems is going to go higher because the population is going to increase? Maybe. The problem is the spring bear season was a draw tag and it did not result in like this, big percentage of bears being taken, right? And so I don't think that it's going to be what I've seen some of the hyperbolic stuff coming on social media, but it does take away from that hunter who's been passionate about bear hunting and the guides over there who have been guiding and they've been feeding their family that way and all the other things that come into this. Who the fuck are these anti-hunting people that get stuck on these goddamn Washington Fish and Game Commissions that say we cannot do something because we're certainly by spring bear hunting in Washington. Now I say we, I don't live in Washington. I don't hunt bears in the spring in Washington. However, we're all hunters. So when I say we, that's what I'm referring to. Who are they to tell we can't do it? Who are they to tell us we can't do it when it does not do any damage to the bear population? It's not hurting the population and it's not really going the other way either. So why do we allow this kind of stuff? And where were the sportsmen's organizations that really could have stepped in and made a bigger bang in the state of Washington to help our Washington outfitters and our Washington guides? What the fuck happened there? We all get fired up.
Listen. I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to. I don't want to dominate. This is not mine. That's what I was alluding to when I interrupted you, Jim, and I'm sorry.
That's the problem. The problem isn't the management strategy or the population of bears. It's that we don't want someone dictating what we can and can't do, right, for this right of ours, the privilege of ours.
It's not necessarily, it's not the right aspect. This isn't like a constitutional amendment, but it is a lifestyle, right?
Right. Absolutely.
This is a lifestyle. And so the problem that I have is the spring bear hunt in Washington was banned due to bad science.
No, it was banned because because of an emotional call to end the bear hunt because bears are cute and cuddly. And why is it with predator hunting, whether it's coyote competitions, whether it's bear hunting, spring bear hunting, or trapping,
why is it with predators? We always feel like we have to justify the hunt. Like we don't hear deer hunters out there justifying the hunt. Why do we have to justify it? Can I go get my
foil box? I'm going to go get the foil so I can make a hat and another
Dude, you don't even need it. You don't even need it.
Because to me, in my opinion, this is my foil hat thing, right? If you can protect predators, reintroduce predators, it's an effect on what we're doing overall, right? And you know, call me crazy, hunter conspiracy, whatever Chris may fire off. They don't want us, if they don't want us hunting, if they don't like us out there killing animals, well, how do you do it? You introduce predators. Oh, the population's low. You can't hunt that predator. Well, the population of deer, the population of elk, the population of the turkey has dropped so much that we have to limit your tags. To me, it's a long game is how I see it, right? It's a long game that they're playing.
By who? The anti-hunting movement?
By the anti-hunter groups. They don't want us out there. So how do you affect the population of the ungulates? Or, you know what I mean? And quite honestly, protect the bears. You have more bears on the landscape, hypothetically, and you affect the ungulate populations and whatnot. I mean, I think it's a long game. And again, it could sound foil hatty, but why else do it? Why, you know, cougars in California? Dude, I could remember years where I didn't see but one in 10, 12, 13 years. And it got to the point where it was like 2, 3, 4 a season. I'm hunting the same drainage as 2 and 3 cats. There's game cameras where you got 6 cats drinking out of the same goddamn water hole. Why? And then the deer population is decimated in that area. Again, I'll go get the Reynolds, foil it up. But I think it's a long game that they're playing on the anti-hunting side, right? And then it tugs on emotion. Right? Bears are somehow just like the wolves, right? It's furry, it's cuddly. How the hell a mountain lion or a bear tearing the hell out of a fawn or a calf is furry and cuddly? I have no idea. I think it's a long game, and I don't think that we are fighting anything but us losing something or not wanting to lose what we perceive as a God-given right. And honestly, it's a privilege in every state that hunting is available on public land or private land. It's a privilege, you know, and I don't know that we view the whole thing the right way. Right. And then going back to the echo chamber, or the silo, you go in that silo, and it's the whirlwind of what we're going to do as an organization. And we keep whispering that each other's ear as we're spinning around that fucking silo in that echo chamber. And we lose the argument. We're really not talking about the same. We're not talking their language. We're not tugging on any emotion, because we're saying, like Chris said, right? Well, hunting is conservation. Well, that's not really what we're fighting for. We're not mad because now we're not conserving. We're mad because now we're losing because we take. If that made any fucking sense.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely did. I think I want to. Let's get back to a little bit on this, you know, this predator topic, and how there is this sense, and it comes from both hunters and non-hunters, where there's this feeling that we need to justify what we do through like conservation. Well, we're going to bear hunt because we're conservationists and we're going to save some deer. Yeah, you guys have seen that. Somebody gets a bear down. Well, I saved a fawn. So I don't care about that. Why don't you, if you want to post a picture of the bear that you got, say, hey, worked my tail off for this bear, and I'm super proud of it. Who cares if you saved a fawn? Because another bear down the drainage is going to get that fawn anyway. That doesn't.
It's the hashtag.
What is hashtag. That? What do you say to that, Chris? Is that? Am I off base by saying that, or how wrong am I? I could see I might be wrong. Chris is coming at me.
No, dude, I got a shit pile of notes. I mean, that's the thing is what is the basis of our moral argument? It all comes down to that.
The conservation?
Our moral argument in arguing for hunting. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we supposed to be doing out there? Again, it doesn't matter if you're an animal activist, animal rights person, anti-hunter person, a wildlife biologist, conservation biologist. Ecology is ecology. And we're supposed to be aren't we supposed to be out there for the health of the population? And dude, I've got to,
I think that's circumstantial, right? Like we're not.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean
well,
circumstantial?
I'll give you an example. Like I would love to come to Kansas and hunt coyotes only for the sake of helping you guys with the population, but I'm not going to come to Kansas for a whitetail hunt for the sake of the population. I'm going to come to the Kansas for the whitetail hunt because it's a much better hunt than what I'm used to, right? Or was a couple years ago when the cycle or the weather was better.
Yeah.
But
let me ask you a question then.
Okay.
Everybody wants to come out and shoot coyotes. Why don't we ever hear anybody going on a guided hunt or going to and rallying, and they're going to go out there and they're going to shoot the shit out of collared doves? Why don't we ever hear hunters going out there saying, "Holy shit, we need to get out there and we need to waylay a shit ton of starlings"? You want to look at the ecological impact of starlings on native, native wildlife, especially other nesting birds. They're a pest. They're an exotic species that has overtaken the United States. We don't ever hear hunters saying we're going to go in because of conservation, because we're conservationists, right? We need to go in there and waylay the shit out of starlings. I never hear anybody say that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Why?
But
because
why?
starlings don't do a shitting thing to game populations.
Yeah, and I think there's a side of it where, as hunters, we could run around talking about how hunting is conservation and whatnot, but that doesn't make us experts. And so there's a lot of people that don't even know what you're talking about with a starling, and there's a lot of people that don't do the homework to understand some of that. So
isn't that shouldn't that be our responsibility? If that's what
that's what I was getting at. That's exactly where I was going.
Pedestal.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I want hunters to be up to speed with that kind of information and that knowledge. I want us to outsmart these anti-hunting folks. And honestly, we're not.
No one gives a shit about that.
Nobody
Social media
cares.
doesn't give a shit about
because
that.
How cool is it to post a picture of a nesting bird that you shot for the sake of conservation? It's not cool. It's not cool, right? And that's the problem. Yeah. Nobody gives a shit about it.
So when you said earlier, you said we're all hunters. No, we're not. No, we're not. It's a value.
What do you mean by that?
This was back. Let's go back to the spring bear in Washington. You were saying you're upset at the Washington Wildlife Commission, and you're like, who gives them the right to say we can't do something? Legislative authority. No.
Not the commission. It was the anti-hunting organizations that approached the commission and were that's what I'm talking about. I know the commission has
value sets, competing value sets.
Competing. Okay? Yeah, that's
because
great.
Right now, let me ask you this: what's the terminology now? Minorly attracted individuals. Shouldn't they have a right to exercise their fundamental belief and value set? How about the trans issue right now? Shouldn't we have cross-dressers and drag queens have the right to go in and share their lifestyle in public libraries, in our kindergartens and preschools, and help mold the minds of those young individuals and share with them their passion and their value and their morals? Shouldn't they have the right to do that?
How do we?
Okay, I'm not going to argue one way or the other. The issue is a competing value set. So the anti-hunters have absolutely every ounce of right to go to the commission, go to the public square and say, this is what I believe. I want to advocate for it. And then in the public square, it ought to be, okay, make your case. I'm sorry if animal activists, anti-hunters, have a stronger ecological case for a policy than hunters do. I'm sorry if they do. But what we're talking about is, if you're talking about, and I don't know the Washington State issue. I haven't dived into it because I don't care. I lived in Washington for a number of years. I enjoyed hunting that state. That state, from an ecological standpoint, is a freaking, it's incredible. I will never darken the door of that state again if I'm not forced to, because politically it's just a train wreck anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't want anything to do with it. But the thing is, if the hunters in Washington are arguing for a recreational opportunity, you tell me in the public square how you argue your moral stance of I just like to go out and put a bullet in the frickin' body cavity of a bear and watch it die so I can hold it up for Instagram, versus the other person's going, what the fuck? You mean like bear? Like, no, why do you have to? You said, you brought up, why does everybody have an issue with predators, but no one have an issue with ungulates? Because you can make an actual an ecological case that ungulates will eat themselves out of house and home and cause major problems with the rest of the habitat and the environment they're in.
But couldn't that same thing be said about bears overpopulating? They eat each other out of house and home?
Far end of the spectrum. But you can address that. You can address that later, specifically, and according to the animal activists, without emotion and without this pathological, this psychotic desire that these quote unquote hunters have, this bloodthirsty psychosis that they just want to go out and they enjoy killing stuff. Why don't we just enjoy going out and trap like my neighbor? Well, he likes to trap cats and torture them in his backyard in cages. Why is that not acceptable? To those people, when they have a value, an intrinsic value for the individual life of an animal, you're arguing their base fundamental value set. And if you don't have a good argument against it, you're going to lose. Yeah. So all this bullshit of, well, there's no reason why we can't. I mean, there's plenty of bears. Okay, fine. Why don't we have a spring bear season where we can just go out and club them over the head with a freaking barbed wire baseball bat? Well, that's a little egregious, Chris. That's not ethical. And that's outside of that's just not, it's no different to them. It's no different to them. So if you're sitting there, you're going to argue for a recreational opportunity. Dude, you cannot get mad at somebody who looks at that argument and says, you're arguing for this simply because you like to go do this. That kind of sounds fucked up, man.
Well, kind of, maybe. But
to the average person who doesn't, like you said.
To the average person.
Yeah, you who has never lived it, never engaged it, they are external to the entire issue. You might as well be talking to the conservative-minded individual saying, yeah, we ought to encourage the trans activists and cross-dressers going in and teaching our kids about their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of us are legitimately against that, aren't we?
I guess, Chris, like where are you going with this in terms of how do we come to how do we come to a solution for this? Because your opinion is, and you're a very passionate guy, and you've always been, one of the things I've always admired about you is you don't come at things from just some emotional responsive level. Although you get emotional, right? But it comes from a place of a lot of thought and a lot of information and a lot of data. And I don't doubt that for a second. I don't always agree with your take on things. And you know that, and you don't always agree with my take on things. But the cool part, I think me and Guy talked about this at one point. The cool part is, we're grown-ups. We don't have to agree on everything, to have a good conversation. But where there's a sense I'm getting of doom and gloom out of your philosophy on this, and it's like this sense of hunters have been wrong forever, and now there's no solution to it, and so that's kind of where I'm kind of getting confused as to how do we come up with a solution? Because would you agree that hunting is something that has been a part of the human experience since the dawn of time? Is that right or wrong?
Sure.
And so when we're talking about something that has been part of the human experience since the dawn of time, and now we've got this new, when I say new, over the last couple of, say 3 to 4 decades of this, one particular group of people, These fucking liberals that tend to come up with these extremely emotional, woke-filled philosophical ideas that I mean, it's not a surprise to anybody when I say that I firmly believe that the entirety of the far left is purely based on emotion and no logic. And I will argue that with anybody. I'm not talking about your average Democrat that, like your John F. Kennedys, your Reagan Democrats, the normal American Democrat. We've gotten to this point where everything has to be so goddamn extreme. Everything has to be so freaking extreme. Oh, I'm a vegan, so everybody else has to be a vegan. You can't hunt bears because I'm a goddamn vegan. And that's what I'm sick of. I'm sick of these people shoving their sexual fantasies down my children's throats. I'm sick of people telling me what I can and can't say. I'm sick of people telling me as a red-blooded American what I can and can't do when it's all within the bounds of the law and legalities. A hunting season for spring bear in Washington does not negatively impact the ecological system in the state of Washington or the wildlife. So why are these people placating to these emotional responses? Because they don't like it. That's my problem with it. And the problem isn't just the bear hunt, Chris. The problem is this becomes this domino effect where, okay, that first domino just knocked over the spring bear hunt in Washington. We can also take your gun rights. We can also remove your freedom of speech. We can also, and granted, that stuff isn't all just right there for the taking because it is constitutionally amended, but it is not a far stretch to think that that's where this leads to. And so we're going down these paths where emotion is taking the place of logic, reason, and sensibility, and it comes from the left, and I'm sick and tired of it, and I'm sick of having to make a case and justify my lifestyle because somebody in downtown Seattle is fucking offended that I want to go hunt the same way my ancestors have done for thousands of years.
Okay. I'm sorry, Chris. You were the one that Jim was directing it to.
Go.
I love you, brothers, by the way. Just
that argument is what, in my opinion, what Chris was talking about. They're holding morality. We're talking recreation. Jim Huntsman just presented a case that might stand up to their moral argument outside of we just want to go kill bears because it's management, blah, 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 bullshit, right? There's no argument coming from those groups that And we could back up before you started saying it's a domino effect, right? And I believe you. I agree with you. I think, it's a long game. But that, in my opinion, is what Chris was talking about. We got this weak-ass argument, recreation versus a moral argument, and nothing like you just presented has been presented to the opposition or the people that are hearing this shit, right? So if they don't hear it and they don't hear why we're out there and why we want to be out there and that human experience, we're not tugging at anything. You start talking about human experience versus some shit that they could care about in conservation or we don't even have all the information on, then you start hitting emotion, and that's what those people are tugging on in their moral arguments, right, wrong, or indifferent in their argument. Sorry.
No, that's a great point.
Your argument, I'm not disagreeing with your passion and your belief structure. I
know you're not.
What I would say is that argument is irrelevant to their value structure. I mean, again, you can't. I've talked about this before. It is, and this is not my quote, but it is pointless to argue facts and logic to someone who does not value facts and logic. We are, to your point.
I get. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
You are
I can't argue that.
Dinosaur in their mind. You represent a chunk of the human race that should go extinct. You should go away because we don't have to hunt to survive anymore. Right. We don't have to do that shit. Yep. So you ought to just go away, and we will whittle at you and whittle at you and whittle at you until we, the anti-whatever, exercise our ideal for society. The progressive movement has been doing this now for how many decades?
Like Teddy 5 Roosevelt, at this point. Yeah. 6.
Theodore Roosevelt, Pinchot, all those guys. We have national forests because of a progressive went in and said, nope, I value this, therefore I decree. Back before he chunked off massive chunks of real estate for national forests and national parks and everything else, that was manifest destiny. Move across the West, settle the West. That would have been chunked up. It was, some of this stuff was supposed to go to states, and this is all, you get into the whole freaking Western states' rights and federal public lands and all that, but this is why there's some heartburn still there. That was a progressive ideology that said, I decree, we value this, therefore we're going to make this blanket policy. Now, guess what? I think many of us in the United States have benefited from that. However, there's going to be some people, they don't value it. Not at all.
They don't see it. Yeah, they don't see it that way.
So it's like, again, you're arguing from your value set, but you're not, okay. To my point, why do I have a doom and gloom? Why do I not doom and gloom, but why am I so disgusted? And why am I because the progressive ideology evolves very rapidly, and they know how to infiltrate and frickin' infect. And our side is back there with a pants full of shit and 2 concrete shoes, and we're just barely dragging behind. We are not evolving. We are not embracing the psychology of people and learning how to communicate. Now, there are some people out there on the landscape that do. Again, the Blood Origins guys. I don't agree with Robbie on a lot of, at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that he and I will probably disagree with, but I like what they're doing. This is why I do like what the Meat Eater guys are doing, because they're at least getting out there and they're messaging to other people about that lifestyle and why it's valuable and why there's a connection in the earth and to the landscape. Again, I vehemently disagree with some of those guys on some policy issues and but at least they're out there doing it. The vast majority of sportsmen don't have a freaking clue in the world how to communicate their own value set to someone who isn't in their own echo chamber. You can't even win me over on some of your arguments, and I am in your freaking silo. So this is the thing that just frustrates me over and over and over again. It's this regurgitation of the same lack of intellectual evolution, if you will, in the public sphere. We're going to lose. Again, but it. So,
but Chris, like,
let me finish this.
Oh, sorry.
Let me finish this. The thing is that is frustrating is
you're breaking up.
I cut out there. You cut out there.
All right, so let me finish this one statement, and then we'll continue.
Yeah.
I'll let you go back. Have it back at. Because here's the thing: don't think for a second that I don't understand. This is tied to our fundamental structure on how we think and how we're hardwired. A lot of us are hardwired. What did I say before? There's 2 types of people in this world. Those that wish to be left alone and those that refuse to. Many hunters just wish, like you want to be left alone. Leave me the freaking hell alone. Let me do what I want to do. Who the fuck gives you the right to come over here and tell me what I can? Because they refuse to. You are going to get the sportsman community and hunting in general, the mindset is going to be drugged down into the freaking mud. We can't just sit there and just be like, bah, and just complain about it while we get trampled. Not only are we going to have to stand up, which there's some people that are saying, oh, I'm going to stand up. Okay. It's one thing to stand up. It's another thing to intelligently crawl back out of the shit hole and then engage cerebrally and actually change.
Hey, buddy, you're breaking up really, really bad.
It's probably because of the video.
Jim, I'll be right back.
It's probably
it could be. Dang it! I really wanted to hear what you said. You were just getting to that like the essence of your point, and you cut out there. Can you repeat that last part?
I don't know.
Well,
the point
and I don't want to.
The point being is what I was getting at is there's the mindset of the 2 different people: those who wish to be left alone, and those who refuse to. Those of us that wish to be left alone don't engage, and we don't wish to engage. But more importantly, we don't take the time to actually understand what we believe, why we believe it, how we justify our belief within our own selves, and then damn sure don't take the time to listen to the other side, understand what their value is, the core of their value, not the actions that they're asking for and all that, the core of their values, and then sit there and go, this is where we differ. This is where we're similar. How can I articulate myself to you understand me better? The vast majority of sportsmen don't do that. The vast majority of sportsmen, in my opinion, do not give a shit. As long as they can get to do whatever the hell they want to do, that's an issue for someone else.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that last statement you just made, like, at all. And in fact, that's kind of the premise of what I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I totally agree. Hey, side note.
Does that bring this conversation full circle back to that influencer sphere?
Yeah, I think it kind of does. I think it kind of does.
For me,
it brings it right back to where we started it, where it's like, oh, hunting is conservation, except for the fact that I need this photo to grow my Instagram account, and so I'm going to shoot that turkey anyway. And I'm kind of talking from Chris's perspective there in terms of the 100%. Turkey, because if you guys need turkeys, listen to this. Gosh, hit me up, slide into my DMs. I know where the damn turkeys are. Like, they're not in Kansas right now, or Chris's part of Kansas. Hey, real quick, let me show you guys a little picture here. You guys ready for this? This is my buddy Troy. He's another local North Idaho guy. This is Troy Pottinger's public land over the. Look at this buck. Look at that sucker. He's been sending me pictures of this buck for like 3 years, and he just got it. He just got it today. Isn't that badass?
Congrats! That's a giant deer. Now the rest of your audience, you're gonna have to share that, because the rest of the audience will be like, I want to see it.
Oh no, the audience there. I'm gonna let Troy share that, because that's his glory. But definitely, that he's worked his butt off for that one. So it was really cool.
To your point, you're absolutely right. But to your point, my frustration is I just don't see any evolution on the empathy and respect for values, not necessarily respect for tactics, because that's different. I just don't see the sportsman community evolving.
I actually just had that conversation this morning with somebody else on their podcast, and they asked me what the future holds for hunting. And my answer is along the same lines as to what you're saying, Chris, is I believe that the future is bleak, and it's bleak because people have very selfish reasons, not selfish reasons, but people are very self-centered in what their goals and what they're looking to achieve out of hunting or get out of hunting. I think has really changed since the development of social media. And I think that is when we talked earlier about like this tribalism factor, and everybody has to kind of feel part of a group. And that's really been amplified since the beginning of social media. And I think that is bad for, it's bad for hunting. I was
going to say amplified. Yes. Created it. No, it's always been there.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember.
Yeah, it's always been there.
Back in high school and back in the day, just watching some of my just family members doing things that were wildly illegal simply because I don't give a shit. This is what I want to do. I want to kill this big buck, or I want to go out and do that. It's always been there. And again, that's the thing and you're right. It's an individualist. So there's a second part of what you're talking about of why, some of the hunting is very individualistic. Now we can talk about, I like to hunt with my family or my kids or whatever. You can have your close knit group of friends that you like to hunt, but hunting is a very individualist type of deal where when you talk about animal activism or anti-hunting sentiments, you have a collectivist mindset there where you will grab other people easily into that because it just, I guess, again, it doesn't matter. I don't need to elaborate. You're talking about competing value sets. And if we don't have the ability if we don't have a fundamental rock solid basis or understanding of why we hunt and can tie it to some semblance of moral bedrock, arguing for recreational hunting opportunities is going to fail. I don't care if it's recreational hunting. Look at Colorado. Yeah. Look at the Colorado plan. In the Colorado plan, and I skimmed it, but in the Colorado plan, is there anything in there that provides safeguards for elk hunters?
I haven't even looked at it, so I can't tell you.
Is there anything in there that safeguards sportsmen? No. Is there anything that in there that helps safeguard livestock producers? Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a hell of a lot easier to argue the fact that these wolves are going to negatively impact another user group on the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
They are that's their livelihood. That's who they are. They are livestock producers. They're all family. Their farm, everything about that community, their life, everything. That's who they are, and it's tied to the land. And these wolves are going to come in and negatively impact it. Why is there no safeguard to elk hunters or mule deer hunters or moose hunters? Because we are recreationally going out there and hunt. These are recreational hunting opportunities.
So is there anywhere where we can revive the clout behind hunting in terms of, is there anywhere to revive the term hunting is conservation and have credibility behind it?
I don't know, because hunting is conservation. In my opinion, hunting pays for conservation.
It does, yeah. And I think that's where that's where it comes from.
Some hunting pays for conservation.
Thank goodness for sports shooters.
we could dive into not even that. The average person. I mean, how much of an annual state agency's budget goes to actually conservation? Versus
very little. Very little.
Exactly. What is it? Where's the bulk of the money go to?
Managing the people. The fish and game agencies need a whole new lineup of computers. What do you think happens? Where does that money come from? They need new vehicles. They need new.
It's managing recreational what? Take. It's managing outdoor recreation with critters. And then there's another research portion. Then when it all comes down to it, how much money is actually hitting the ground for the conservation of species. Now, and this is where hunters lose their shit. And I was part of this discussion back in the day in Colorado too, when you look at how much sportsman dollars are going to sage grouse or swift fox, black-footed ferret, and prairie dogs, and people are like, "What the frickin' hell are you spending your blanking money on?" Okay, it's supposed to be conservation, right? So some hunting dollars goes to pay for conservation, but that's because that's what the model was set up as. Because back in the day, we had a lot of people that wanted to hunt. We had no money to pay for the conservation, so we married the two. There's a reason why organizations like Wildlife for All and others go back to the teaming with wildlife model. Why there's so many people and so many state agencies, federal agencies, mostly state agencies, are eager to evolve the North American model of wildlife conservation into either a taxpayer base, a user fee base, move away from just having hunters pay the bills. I mean, go to Wildlife for All page. I mean, I just saw somebody tag and share their chart on some of their stats, and I was like, I wonder if this person that posted this, you just posted this. Like, do you even know who this organization is? You just go and look up that. Their whole focus is get rid of hunting dollars as the driver for wildlife conservation and management. Why? Because then we don't have to cater to hunters. Yeah, you don't have to cater to hunters. We can have healthy populations of grizzly bears and wolves in Colorado and coyotes on the landscape and mountain lions and everywhere else, because hey, if they manage to the greatest extent possible, if those predators manage the ungulate population, great. Then we don't have to worry about hunters going out there and engaging in their sick, twisted, psychosis, this antiquated barbarism of going out there and just shooting shit because they like it. That's what they believe. And I think this is where it's going to end up going. Unless sportsmen can make a frickin' case where the value set that we have belongs on the landscape. But even still, if we can make that case on the landscape, I think it's going to look wildly different than what we have.
We're so outnumbered. That's part, and I'm trying to. We need to probably wrap this episode up. I hate going over the 2-hour mark, but I know, but it's just it's a thing, you're so insightful, Chris, and I do.
I may be talking out of my ass, man. This is just these are things that go on in my
join
head.
the club. I talk out of my ass 90% of the time. I love it. I'm cool.
I just watch what's going on.
I accept it.
I watch what's going on, and I see the arguments of value sets, and I'm like, you're going nowhere. You're going nowhere.
That's part of the reason why I wanted to have you guys on, because that's what I feel like is going on. I say some dumb shit on my probably every episode. Well, not probably. I do. I say dumb shit on every episode I record. But at the same time, I want to make a positive impact for the future of hunting, and I feel like that we are as a collective, as a hunting collective of individuals. We're spinning our wheels. We're going in circles. We're not making progress. We're in fact, I would argue that it's the opposite of progress. We are digressing, and we are going backwards in a sense of getting our message out there to the masses. And when I say the masses, when I just did some recent research in terms of it is roughly 5%. In fact, it's less than 5. It's just under 5%. 5% of the American population that are active hunting tag holders, right? And that is going to be very similar to the active hostile vegan / anti-hunting folks that are activists in it. I'm not talking about just your, same thing with when I'm talking about hunters versus anti-hunters. You always have your kind of milder seasonings in there. But we're talking about the activists, and so there's a very similar line. The difference is the anti-hunting folks are they're very much more unified, and they're better funded, and they have a better unified message.
They're actually activists. They're acting on their belief.
Exactly,
where we don't.
They're activists. Where we're hunters, all we want to do is focus on the next deer season or next elk season or next whatever. And that's how it's been for years. But the problem is we can't do that anymore. And that's where I agree. I've always been an advocate for this line that, hunting is conservation. I've talked about that, and I agree, hunting is conservation, and here's why. Here's my my facts I got off the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation website, why hunting is conservation. But when you look deeper into it, and you start going down the trail of really putting data together to present this in a like a tangible argument that people would listen to, that is stripped of emotion. Hunting in itself is not conservation. Hunting is a good wildlife management tool if it's done correctly and appropriately. Hunting could be conservation if the funding was directed in the right places. There are things we could do to adjust it, but the problem is people don't want to. People don't want to lift a finger to help the future of hunting, and that's where I feel like we're kind of spinning our wheels. We're spinning our wheels where there's a lot of hunters that are asleep at the wheel, and they don't know what they don't know in terms of what the future looks like. And that's why I don't have a lot of optimism.
But that's not even a concern with most guys, dude.
I know.
And that's the problem.
That's what I mean by asleep at the wheel.
We totally take it for granted. Like I said, we act like it's a right. It really, in my opinion, it's a privilege, like getting a fucking driver's license, right?
No, that's exactly it. No, the North American model wildlife conservation that everybody bought onto was, we will give up our right to go do whatever the hell we want to with game populations. We will cede that over to the state to manage our take, and which ended up being managed the privilege of being able to take. Because
that
in some cases, there is no there is no reason from a conservation standpoint. There is no reason for take. It's just an opportunity. It's a recreational opportunity. So we sportsmen, and this is going to be a topic that I'm going to bring up on mine. We've abdicated I think a lot of people believe that they've abdicated their personal responsibility to the state. Therefore, they don't have to think about it at all. Let's to what you guys just put. Let's use this example. Why do I say hunting is not conservation? Hunting pays for conservation. Because I've been on the discussion of governor's tags and auction and raffle tags. You look at how much money goes for, guy for Colorado. You look at what pays for bighorn sheep research, transplants, like building sheep populations across the state, making sure bighorn sheep populations stay as healthy as they can in the face of domestic sheep and disease and everything else. What pays for moose back in the day? What pays for some of the elk habitat projects? It's the auction and raffle funds. Now, the raffle funds can be bought by anybody. So the average person can buy it. But is that the average elk hunter? No. When you go buy your elk tag, you aren't pitching into a damn dime into that pot of money. It's only if you, you can say you value conservation. You value getting that elk tag to let you hunt any unit in the state with any method of take once that season is open. You want to shoot a big freaking bull. You want the opportunity to go kill a freaking big gargantuan elk. And you're willing to spend what? Extra money for that opportunity. But that extra money goes into a pot that actually is used for conservation. Now, where does the big money come from? The auction tag. And guess what happens there? 1, 2, 3, how many auction tags they have? Rich people.
Yeah, rich people.
Spend a shit ton of money.
Like several $100,000
Correct.
per tag. Yeah.
You want to know what moves the needle on freaking conservation at that point? Is it the average $100? Nope. It's the person that dropped $150,000 that just bankrolled 2/3, I don't know, whatever.
Wasn't there was one that went for like $380,000 for a governor's tag?
Probably sheep or something like that.
Yeah.
That's where you want to talk about hunting as conservation. That hunter is engaged in conservation. You want to know what else is conservation? KUIU. When KUIU as a company said, you know what, we're going to take some of our profits and we're going to turn around, we're going to do some sheep reintroductions. We're going to bankroll the entire sheep conservation effort in this chunk of real estate in Nevada or wherever it was. That's conservation. You want to know what else is conservation? National Wild Turkey Federation, where all of a sudden some rich guy, rich family, some trust says, we're going to donate $100,000 to you to go out and do this program across these 5, eastern, whatever states. That's conservation. Yeah. This is where, I got digressed. So you've got that. I can literally show you the money. The state of Colorado and all these other Western states can show you the money that gets generated by these tags and where it gets put on the ground and how much benefit it does for everyone else. The wildlife, absolutely. But I'm talking about all the other hunters. And what do we have? We have hunters that will rail against those programs and try to shut down governor and auction tag licenses because why? It's not fair that some rich guy gets to buy his way in.
Yep.
Shut the freaking hell up. That rich guy just bankrolled those past 5 rich guys that bought those sheep licenses are why there's now 2 more sheep units in Colorado. And you just increased your likelihood of being able to draw a sheep tag in the state. but we can't even get out of our own way. Some of us can't even get out of our
own way. Boom. Right there. That line is kind of the what I was looking for, because I think that is exactly what is happening. We can't get out of our own way. I don't care if it's something simple, like we're arguing over whether you're a bow hunter or a rifle hunter. I don't care if it's something super complicated over some rich guy buying a goat tag and creating new hunting units for goats in the future. That is what is happening, is this infighting and this Guy, you talked about earlier how you feel like social media is just kind of this echo chamber.
I'm not saying just social media. I'm saying our fucking demographic, dude.
Oh yeah, and I don't disagree with that. I would agree with that to an extent, but I also feel like where it becomes not an echo chamber is where it turns into like this competition. Who is the baddest motherfucker to go out and get the best picture of themselves packing an elk off the mountain. And it turns into this where it's not even hunting related in a sense. It's just, we are the best at social media. Where did this come from? It's a competition.
Yeah.
Who's the best?
Killing an animal is no longer about, let's just even say it's not even about management at this point. This is to this year. I'm not even going to. I don't need to name names because everybody can see it, and I don't even follow that many people, and I can see it. It's getting to the point where killing is not about game management. It's not even about putting meat in the freezer, because some of these people are going and hunting and killing. Like I said, I've got a freezer full of whitetail still. Like, I don't need to go kill something. And granted, there's other people like, oh, no, I donate all the meat. Okay, you donate all that meat, but you don't have to go kill. You're killing in excess of what you need. So killing at this point is no longer about conservation, is it? It's about something more. And it's
a hunt. It's not.
It's status anymore.
It's status. Yeah.
It's like, it's money. It's prestige. And I'm watching some of these people that are very accomplished hunters that have a platform, that have notoriety, they have a reputation. You don't need to, but yet here we are. They go out and they kill a little 4x4, like, oh, it was a brutal hunt, but yeah, I was able to get it done. Dude, I know that you killed 3 elk last year. You can't be out of meat. Like, you don't, and I'm not judging the value. I guess I am. The problem is I'm looking at some of these people. I'm like, you're just out there to kill. And I saw it here around my house. You came out here to kill, so you had a picture.
Yeah,
on social media.
That's kind of,
that was it.
That's exactly kind of what I started this conversation with. I'm a great example sometimes. I suck at social media, man. I killed a deer when late archery opened again in December here. I killed a nice little buck. I haven't even posted it because I don't know how to take that kind of picture and make it all pretty like some of these guys do. And I'm not saying that to, add anything to me in terms of credibility as to the discussion that we're talking about, because if I killed a monster, I guarantee that son of a bitch would have been posted, right? But I didn't. I killed a decent buck.
But
I'm an average hunter, and it's a decent buck for me. But that's, I don't care to post it. It's just not my thing.
Right. But to you, the purity and passion for what we do is a lifestyle. Right?
It is.
That's where the line is drawn. That's where the line is drawn.
My family, the way we're set up, I think that people misconstrue having a podcast and having sponsors on your podcast and some of this thing gives this perception that, we have all this unlimited resources and I can go buy a half a beef or something. Yeah. And I'm also not on the other side of that where I'm playing some sad fiddle string where we're poverty stricken. We're not poverty stricken, nor do I have more resources than I know what to do with. We're in between. The difference is the meat is important to us. It is what I had a guest on my show one time, Michael Bozarth. He said, my trophy room is my freezer. And I relate to that greatly. Do I want to kill the biggest animal I can? Absolutely. Sure. But I don't want to kill that big animal just to post it on fucking Instagram because I don't even know how to hardly do that.
Yeah, but so think about all the people that the real trophy, right? And it's another fucking hashtag. Okay. So I want to see this year, folks, I want to see hashtag Starling Slayer since Chris bottom up. that's that
up, boys.
Yeah. So if we want to talk conservation, I want you to know what a European starling is and how they affect the landscape and how devastating they are to the landscape. Eurasian doves, right? Kind of the same deal there, but the starling is a motherfucker, right? If you ask the next 20 people on your podcast what a starling is, no one's going to fucking know. Why is it important? Why is it open season on starling? No one's going to know. Why is it important that we go kill fucking starling? If I'm out and I'm turkey hunting, dude, I'll carry shot there. And if I see starling, I'm shooting a fucking starling.
Okay. So let me ask you guys, let me ask you guys this. If between the 3 shows that we do, we've got Roe Hunting Resources podcast. We've got the Western Contours.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Western Huntsman here. And between our 3 shows, if we can make an impact, a positive change to the starling population by talking about it, is hunting conservation at that point.
Can you?
I'm gonna hold up a fucking.
I'll commit to giving.
People are gonna be like, "Why the fuck did you kill that pretty black bird?" No one's gonna fucking know, dude. No one's gonna know.
All right. We gotta wrap this up, guys. This was a lot of fun. This is exactly kind of why I wanted to get you guys on the show. I know whenever I have you guys on the show, my blood pressure always gets increased, and that's a good thing for what we're talking about. I don't say that in a bad way. It makes me think deeper about my own beliefs. You guys challenge me. And you guys make me feel like we have a lot of work to do, and I'm really glad we did this. So, I appreciate you coming on. For anybody living in the dark, let's start with you, Guy. Where can people find you?
I've been really bad, as Jim stated. Not as bad as Chris, but pretty bad with releasing podcasts. I have recorded in the last couple of weeks, so I do have some eps coming up that I'll be editing and dropping in. But Western Contours on just about every freaking podcast platform, Carbon TV, Waypoint, iTunes, Apple Podcast, Western Contours on Instagram, westerncontours.com, which, is as bad as my podcasting lately in terms of attention. And then Guy_Western Contours. And I've been horrible lately.
Don't forget about Western fly covers, man.
Well, yeah, I didn't even get there yet.
Okay.
And then, Western fly covers, we make rain flies, pack flies, bino harness flies. I got some rifle scopes and some ponchos coming here pretty quick. So check that out. If you're running those late seasons, even in September, your critical gear gets wet and you're in the backcountry, you're screwed. So, that's where you can find me, or arguing with Jim and, watching Chris, and that's where I'm at. And Elk Pros. So.
Yes, sir. So, we're not arguing. We're having conversation.
You and I argue about the Birkenstocks and your vegan in-laws. So, yes.
Well, I hope you listen to my. I did a recent episode with Johnny Mack, and we talked about you, dude, regarding your Birkenstocks. So you.
Oh, jeez. And Johnny has no room to say.
No, he doesn't, man. He was wearing Birkenstocks.
I was gonna say, I guarantee you that son of a bitch has actual Birkenstocks,
and he shot a bear in Birkenstocks. So, Chris, how about you, brother? Where do people find you?
No, everywhere is the same. Just Roe Hunting Resources, ROE Hunting Resources. And listen, I don't know if I made any sense. And the reason why I haven't been talking about anything, as soon as I got done with elk season, it's just been a mad scramble doing all of our whitetail stuff.
Yeah, all your whitetail stuff.
Just trying to get, it's just been a tough fall for a variety of reasons. And I had to get my head wrapped around and just get that portion done. But I don't have some of these. There's a lot of ideas that I have, and a lot of things that I've observed, and a lot of things that just kind of have been grinding on me lately that I don't have all the information fleshed out. And over these next several weeks and months, maybe we can, but I don't know. It's at least something to consider. I'm sure I pissed a bunch of people off, and I hope so, because fire back, like seriously, fire back and say, no, you're wrong here, there, and there, and piss off and fuck you or whatever you want to say. That's fine. Just give me I don't want to articulate it, man. Like, make an argument. Give me something to chew on and consider, because maybe I'm full of shit. I don't know. But anyway, that just seriously, Roe Hunting Resources, whether it's I'm really not on Facebook anymore. I know my stuff gets posted over there between Instagram. I'm on Instagram, period. So reach out to me there. The YouTube channel, the website, it's all Roe Hunting Resources, brother.
Okay.
Roe Hunting Resources. Oh, go ahead, guy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Chris is admittedly the worst businessman in the fucking world. Okay. RoeHuntingResources.com. Whitetail modules, turkey modules, elk modules. Some of the best, if not the best, information around from someone that's well versed in all three areas. Go to Roe Hunting Resources, sign up, and get that knowledge. And I would say get all three of them. If you're an elk hunter, there's some crossover shit between the elk, turkey, and whitetail in terms of what Chris is doing for management. Yeah. Don't let this guy just blow it off as RoeHuntingResources.com. Go check it out. Get signed up.
Well,
get your modules. It is I'm glad you did that, guy, because I don't know if you're humble or if you're shy about promoting.
He sucks.
The Roe Hunting, the Roe Hunting Resources, man. Like, come on,
so
good shit.
What you don't, so what you don't understand is that's part of what there's going to be some. I mean, by default, there's going to be some massive changes on my end coming into 2023. Some of that's going to be reflected in what I do on the website and social media. Some of it's going to be different stuff that I do business wise. But I have had this past several months I've had good close friends just absolutely eviscerate me on just how bad. I mean, I know I suck at promoting myself, and I just do. I just do. I know it. I hate it. But I do. And I appreciate both of you. I appreciate all the support over the years, and I appreciate you getting people to work. But I do. I'm the guy. I would rather focus my time dealing with critters and being on the ground, doing that type of stuff, and letting my products speak for themselves. But yes, people aren't going to know what the product is.
There it is.
People won't know.
People won't know,
man.
No, I have to make some changes for 2023. There's just no two ways about it. I know that I've been lax on some of my stuff in the past. I've really gone all in these past 8, almost 9 years now out here on habitat stuff. And that there's some stuff in the works on. So when you brought the whitetail module, that very well may change. I'm going to probably kick more off a different direction on some of my whitetail stuff and start really putting a lot more on YouTube, and just talking from an actual habitat standpoint out here.
I would eat that up. I would eat that up. Like if I was rich, Chris, I would hire you to come out to my property and help me make it like a whitetail haven. I want to make the best habitat I can on a 26-acre plot. Like,
you have whitetails on your property?
Oh man, do I have white? Look at that! I'm going to show you this buck that keeps.
No, dude,
this guy. Let's talk about it
already. Why haven't we talked already? We could do that.
I think I threatened to talk about it at one point with you, and then we ended up talking about elk. But look at this sucker that's been giving me the slip, man. Look how big.
Dude, Idaho, man. That's the thing that just
I'm telling you.
My mind. Idaho has some absolute freaking just tank.
These are not these great big, 180, 190 inch Midwestern bucks. But we have some big bodied deer.
Right.
And it's just, I think they just need a sanctuary on my property. where I can get within range with my bow and arrow because I'm a selfish fucking prick and I want the goddamn.
So it's not about.
Instagram
So in other words,
fame.
it's not about conservation, Jim.
No,
It's
not about
just you wanna
conservation.
kill
It's
it.
about my
You just want to
picture.
kill it.
It's about my picture on Instagram.
There you go.
And I'm going to shoot it and get a picture and post
There
it.
you go.
And then I'll tag Roe Hunting Resources and Western Contours.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll get shit tons of followers. It'll be great.
I mean,
There you go. There you go, man.
No, I am serious. I would like to pick your brain about that. I've got some ideas for next year to kind of make this a little bit better, to keep them. My goal, actually, I've got a complicated thing. I want to keep them off the highway because there's a few of them are getting hit down there.
Oh, yeah.
And if I can kind of funnel them on one side, it'll keep them from getting hit before they kind of winter down here. And I want to help their migration pattern somehow. But anyway, beside the point, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on the show and doing this. We've all kind of been coming on, and talking on our various shows for a long time together. And I want to keep that up for sure. Chris, I do need to kind of nail you down for a School of September. I did a poll and you need to come back on for School of September. Okay.
Saw that.
Yeah. Guy, I've always enjoyed having you on the show, man. You're one of my favorite guests, man. So let's just keep doing it. And thanks again for coming on the show. And, well, I mean, you're the one recording, Chris. You got
I say when this is over.
You say
you can go to bed if you want. I'll just keep this thing going.
I love it.
Absolutely, man.
Do a Roe Hunting Resources, Western Huntsman 10% off Christmas code and get the feller in your life, elk, whitetail, or turkey module is my opinion. Because I'm talking it up and Chris is going, well, I'm changing shit for 2023. Don't wait till 2023, folks. Don't listen to this man. I'm saying it again. He's fucking horrible, but his modules are fucking amazing.
Well,
what's the promo code for Western fly covers though that I can give?
Just go Western Huntsman and I'll do.
Yeah, I want to check some of that stuff. Do you have stuff on your website? I just
yes, sir.
Awesome. I'll check it out. Yeah, because that'd be legit.
Yeah, that Western fly cover really is, man. Like I've used that. I've made a makeshift caveman style umbrella out of it to sit and get out of the rain. I have used it to set elk quarters on before I can get them in a bag. I have used it to cover my pack while it's raining, what it was designed for. I mean, this thing it's awesome. I don't mean to talk it up too much. But,
did you see what Charlie did? Charlie Smith?
Yes, I saw that.
Saw that one?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
his boy sleeping under it.
Yeah. No, I've done something similar, man. I took two limbs off this dead pine tree and made an X inside of it and literally made like this umbrella that I set up between two branches that were still up on the tree. And I used zip ties to hold it there while I sat there and just watched a trail, cause it was raining and it kept me dry.
Do you know if it does anything to stop blowing dust?
You know, that is one of the things that folks have told me on their side-by-sides and whatnot, right? They're like, oh man, my pack and stuff doesn't have all this crap on it, you know, and they're covering it on their side-by-side. So I was like, and I love seeing it, right? It's a pack cover. And so I see all this, you know, people use it to change their socks or put their boots on, and it's pretty bitchin'. I loved all that crossover use from it. Cool. But they're money out in the field, man.
Cool
money.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great product. Appreciate both that, you guys, both products between the Roe Hunting Resources stuff is obviously world class. If you don't know how to properly use a Chris Roe assembly Mew, you're not doing it right. I've proven that thing over and over again. And also that Western fly cover. Again, I don't mean to keep running this long, guys. Thanks again for jumping on. We're going to do this again. We're going to solve more problems and piss off more people and make other people more happy in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'll shoot you that discount code for that free ship.
Sweet.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, boys.
You made it. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram @The Western Huntsman and write us a good review at Apple Podcasts. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Stay Western, and I'll see you on